Chapter 1130. Green light flickered wildly within his battered body. Taoist Qingyang wanted to use a teleportation technique, but for some reason, he couldn't do so under the pressure of an invisible force. The tiny nascent soul cultivator's face was filled with terror. Before he could do anything else, a layer of gray powder enveloped him, emitting an icy aura that blocked out spirit power. Taoist Qingyang felt his nascent soul's magic power stagnate, and then he sank into darkness. The silver figure that killed him was Lu Kuan. He had snuck in when the formation of MT Crimson began to stir, but he hadn't shown himself. After seeing the level 10 silver-armored corpse, he decided to take advantage of the chaos. The supreme Great Spirit Stone fell into Qingyang Dao's hands because of it, and serene, it was also released by him at the right time. His purpose was to make these two guys fight. Lu Kuan put away Taoist Qingyang's storage bracelet and held the origin gourd in his hand, amazed. With the help of this treasure and the formation, it will be difficult to kill this person head-on. He hesitated for a moment, but didn't put away the gourd. Instead, he hung it at his waist and disappeared in a flash. Soon, the terrified voices of the Xian sect cultivators came from the distance. Two corpse kings from Zhoming Mountain. No, there's no corpse chi. What kind of monster is that? Run. Soon after, the sounds of fierce fighting came from NT Crimson. Lu Kuan's current battle prowess was equivalent to that of a peak great cultivator. His speed and defense were even more astonishing. With Serene's help, even if the nascent soul cultivators scattered and fled, none of them would be able to escape alive. An hour later, Lu Kuan reappeared in MT Crimson. He came to the location of the Silver-Winged Night Fiend. At this time, this middle underworld mountain corpse king was lying on the ground. The corpse energy armor on its body was in tatters, revealing its green-furred zombie body. Its wings were filled with black bones, emitting a rotten corpse energy. Lu Kuan sensed it carefully and found that not only was its aura drifting, even its soul was extremely weak, and it had fainted. As expected of the corpse king of the middle underworld mountain, it has some strength. First, it was attacked by the will of a semi-god realm cultivator, and then it was attacked by the energy of a semi-god realm cultivator. But it didn't die. Serene had already returned to her normal human form. She landed on the side and curiously sized up this miserable fellow of hers. Lu Kuan glanced at the two silver-armored corpses, shook his head, and said regretfully, "Although this wild silver-armored corpse has special abilities and is at the 10th level, its body is too horrible to look at. Although the defensive ability is not weak, due to the limited amount of blood essence, there is almost no recovery ability. For such a physical wound, it will probably need to absorb a large amount of cold energy and the blood essence of immortal cultivators, and then spend a lot of time to recuperate before it can fully recover." As he spoke, he waved his hand and used the dragon snapping stone powder to wrap it up. The soul-destroying material even seeped into the broken flesh and blood, wrapping it up into a gray stone puppet cocoon. "You leaked some corpse energy, didn't you?" Serene nodded softly and said, "I purposely released my aura. If it was a cultivator with a high cultivation, they should be able to detect it." Lu Kuan nodded with satisfaction. He waved his hand and put away the gray stone puppet cocoon on the ground. He said, "Keep an eye on it in the spirit beast space. If there are signs of it waking up, let me know." Serene nodded and turned into a ray of spiritual light, entering one of Lu Kuan's soft ribs. Then Lu Kuan's late-stage nascent soul divine sense surged out and scanned the entire MT Crimson. After finding nothing strange, he withdrew his aura and turned into a ray of silver light, flying into the distance. He checked a jade slip in the storage space of his ribs while flying in the right direction. In the entire battle of MT Crimson, only 2 rogue cultivators escaped when Serene attacked. The rest were all dead. Lu Kuan had purposely let them go. In their memories, Taoist Qingyang of MT Crimson fought with the Silver-Winged Night Fiend, and new silver-armored corpses appeared. Then, the faction fighting with the Supreme Profundity sect for supreme Great Spirit Stones was naturally the Middle Underworld Mountain. When Lu Kuan eavesdropped on the Middle Underworld Mountain, he planned to throw this disaster to them. The Middle Underworld Mountain was located in the center of the Great Zhou dynasty. To its west was the Guiyuan River. To its north was the ancient spirit state where the Prime Devil sect was located, and to its south was the Huatian state where the Huatian temple was located. Other than some spatial rifts, there was pure Yin energy inside. It was said that in ancient times, the Middle Underworld insect tribe invaded. Now that the insects were extinct, the Middle Underworld Mountain became a place for zombies to cultivate. The 5 zombie kings inside were all level 10 silver armor corpses. They were powerful. Moreover, there was no spirit chi or devil chi in the Middle Underworld Mountain, so cultivators were not interested in it. Lu Kuan looked at the time immemorial gourd at his waist and narrowed his eyes. I didn't expect the divine ability of a soul formation cultivator to be so terrifying. Just the separated true essence and the heaven and earth essence chi in the soul formation domain can make a replica divine spirit treasure unleash the power of a divine spirit treasure. Lu Kuan recalled Taoist Xingyang's words and the terrifying essence chi sword. His expression turned serious. If he didn't use Dharma World or other divine abilities to weaken an attack of this level, he could withstand it with his physical body, but he would have to expend a large amount of blood essence to recover. A great cultivator could unleash such an attack with the help of soul formation true essence and a replica divine spirit treasure. If it was Gu Deming himself, he would probably be able to unleash such power with a casual divine spirit treasure. If he fought with Gu Deming in the Great Yuan state, he would be courting death. Thinking of this, his divine sense probed the jade slip again. The Middle Underworld Mountain stretches for thousands of miles and is filled with cold Yin energy. There is no heaven and earth essence chi. If Gu Deming really goes to the Middle Underworld Mountain Corpse King, I can spy on these pseudo-soul formation cultivators' combat power in other environments. After Lu Kuan saw the time immemorial gourd's essence chi sword, he became more cautious. His internal injuries hadn't healed yet. Although he had the purple gold demonic saber in his hand, in an environment without devil essence chi, he couldn't unleash the power it should have. With his current blood essence and physical defense, as long as an attack like the essence chi sword hit him 6 to 7 times, the blood essence in his body would be depleted due to the repair of his flesh and blood. There was a limit to the physical defense of a bone transformation body cultivator. Source energy consumed devil essence chi. Damage to the physical body required blood essence chi to repair. Once blood essence chi and devil essence chi were depleted, he would be in danger. Lu Kuan was currently at the middle stage of bone transformation realm. His muscle defense was very strong. Only the attack of a great cultivator or above could cause some damage. The higher the attack power of the enemy, the greater the loss of muscle. It needed blood to make up for it. An increase in defensive power meant that more blood would be needed to repair the damage. Not to mention the divine spirit treasure's essence, chi, manifestation ability. Even if it was an imitation spirit treasure's attack, Lu Kuan would consume a lot of blood. As for the bones in his flesh and blood, although they had the support of the silver dragon meteorite iron and their defensive power was better, they were still human bones magic treasures. They could withstand 1 or 2 high-level attacks. But if the attack exceeded the limit, it would cause great damage to its spirituality. The spirit essence array and the strengthening array would be damaged. At that time, it would affect the use of body source chi. The body refining pavilion was developing faster and faster. Sooner or later, he would face soul formation cultivators. But he also wanted to find the path of soul formation. He had to fully understand the supernatural powers of soul formation cultivators. Luring Gu Deming to the Middle Underworld Mountain was the best opportunity. A great cultivator and 5 nascent soul elders have died near the Supreme Profound Sect. Coupled with the appearance of the Silver-Winged Night Fiend, this old man is likely to personally investigate. He should be able to sense the aura of the Chaos Gourd. I can use this to guide him. The fastest route to the middle underworld mountain is to fly to the center of the Diyuan province and then cross the Guyuan River. I don't know the speed of a soul formation cultivator, but just in case, I have to speed up. Thinking of this, the many bone treasures in his body flashed with light. At the same time, his blood essence surged, suppressing the aura of the bone treasures. With an ear-piercing explosion, he shot off into the distance. Chapter 1131. The Xian sect was located in the southwest of the Diyuan state. Its sphere of influence was extremely vast. Especially with the addition of a soul formation cultivator, it continued to expand. Its territory was close to a third of the Diyuan state, almost the same as the Qingyun sect. In the core area of the Xian sect, there were a total of 6 paradises, each of which was home to countless disciples. In the outer area, there were also many spirit veins where the cultivator families and some small sects of the Xian sect were stationed. These small forces mainly provided the Xian sect with disciples with good aptitude, as well as services for various miscellaneous matters. Among the 6 paradises, the one with the most abundant spiritual qi was a ring-shaped valley full of vitality. It was filled with all kinds of lush vegetation, the sound of birds, and the fragrance of flowers. Pure, would-attribute spiritual qi floated inside endlessly. In the center of the valley stood a towering ancient tree with a diameter of dozens of feet. Its height was more than 2,000 feet, and its luxuriant branches and leaves covered an area of several miles. This ancient tree was surrounded by countless green clouds, and from time to time, it emitted a sense of nourishment and endless vitality. Under its influence, the entire valley was full of vitality. This valley was the holy land of the Xian sect, the Qingyuan Valley. The Qingyuan ancient tree had existed since ancient times and had a history of more than 60,000 years. The Qingyuan Valley was the place where the grand elders of the Xian sect cultivated. Gu Deming had entered the soul formation stage, so naturally he settled here. On this day, on one of the branches of the Qingyuan ancient tree, a young man in a light green robe sat. He had long black hair and a handsome face. There was no aura around his body, and he looked like a mortal man in his 20s. The only strange thing about him was that there were a few wisps of light green mist lingering around his body, giving off an unfathomable feeling. This young man was the current grand elder of the Xian sect, Gu Deming. He was holding a wooden teacup and gently tasting the tea inside. On the tea table in front of him, there was a yellow bird. It used its beak to fiddle with the tea leaves, sending them into the teapot bit by bit. Then, with a slight flap of its little wings, a red flame flashed, and the teapot began to emit steam. Putting down the teacup, Gu Deming said, "In that case, our sect has lost 2 great cultivators and 8 nascent soul elders in the past few years." Behind him stood a white-haired middle-aged man. He was the first elder of the Xian sect, Emo Honkai. When he heard this emotionless voice, cold sweat unconsciously appeared on his forehead. He braced himself and said, "Yes, Martial Uncle." When Gu Deming heard this, he didn't say anything. He tapped the tea table twice, and the yellow bird picked up the teapot with its beak and filled his cup with tea. After drinking another cup of tea, he slowly said, "What happened to Martial Nephew Qingyang? Not long ago, I sensed that he had used up all of the true essence in the primordial gourd. He even drew upon a large amount of heaven and earth origin energy. Even if he was besieged by several great cultivators, he wouldn't have died." Emo Honkai said with a serious expression, "Martial Uncle, it might be because of the corpse king of the middle underworld mountain." As he spoke, a brocade box appeared in his hand. A wisp of light green mist curled around the box and brought it to Gu Deming. The green mist flowed into the box through a crack. Gu Deming's expression darkened. A 10th grade silver-armored corpse with a wind attribute aura. "It's the Silver-Winged Night Fiend." Emo Honkai nodded. When Martial Nephew went to investigate, only the shattered scales and flesh of the Silver-Winged Night Fiend remained on Mount Crimson. In addition, there was another corpse aura, but it was only at the 9th grade. At first, Only the soul tablets of those junior brothers were shattered. Martial nephew Qin Yang was fine. Martial nephew thought that junior brother had gone after the enemy. But half a day later, his soul tablet, Gu Deming, frowned. Martial nephew Qin Yang has the primordial gourd. The silver-winged night fiend is no match for him, let alone the 9th grade silver-armored corpse. It seems that other corpse kings might have made a move. Mo Honkai was somewhat puzzled. Martial uncle, the profound sect has no enmity with the Zhongming Mountain. Why would they oppose us? There seems to be something fishy about this. Gu Deming took another sip of tea. Aside from relying on the power of Yin to cultivate, these zombies also need spirit energy. The environment of the Zhongming Mountain causes their need for spirit stones to be extremely high. After so many years, those corpse kings have reached the peak of the 10th grade. According to the silver-armored corpse's method of breakthrough, they would need to devour the nascent souls of soul formation cultivators to cross the threshold and enter the next realm. Unfortunately, with their strength, it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot when facing a soul formation cultivator. In order to seek a breakthrough, they set their sights on supreme-grade spirit stones. They want to use large amounts of supreme-grade spirit stones to absorb the energy within and attempt a breakthrough. Mo Honkai hesitated. But Martial Uncle, based on the phenomenon on Mount Crimson, there are at most 2 supreme-grade spirit stones. If it were before, this would be possible. But with Martial Uncle here, it's unlikely that the Zhongming Mountain would become enemies with us because of this. Could it be done by other forces? Gu Deming slowly stood up. With a wave of his sleeve, the tea table disappeared, and the little yellow bird landed on his shoulder. He coldly snorted and said, "I will investigate the specific reasons. The Chaos Gourd is a treasure that must be taken back. The Middle Underworld Mountain is involved, so it's time to knock some sense into them." And Mo Honkai excitedly said, "With Martial Uncle personally taking action, we will definitely catch the culprit." Gu Deming said, "Yes. Have you investigated the body refining pavilion?" And Mo Honkai revealed an awkward expression and said, "Senior uncle, junior brother Peng had the dark green ruler in his hands, but he still died due to carelessness. The original infant stage elder who was accompanying him also had his soul tablet shattered. Furthermore, senior uncle went to the broken country." Gu Deming waved his hand. "If I were you, I wouldn't go there so easily. After the Zhongming Mountains matter is dealt with, I will go there personally. Remember, do not spread the news about the body refining pavilion. Such a miraculous body refining technique cannot be known by other sections." And Mo Honkai nodded, then hesitantly said, "Oh, right, Martial Uncle. Not long ago, I heard some news about the Saint Devil sect. It said that the great elder Huang Chong and the 3rd elder Shui Tianyu, as well as 10 nascent soul elders, all died. Junior brother Peng sent the news last time. It said that he joined forces with the Saint Devil sect to deal with the body refining pavilion. Do you think?" Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. "All of the Saint Devil sect's people died." A light flashed in Mo Honksai's hand, and a jade slip appeared. He respectfully handed it over. The news came from the Shadow Pavilion. There are also images to prove it. Please take a look. Gu Deming picked up the jade slip, and his expression became serious. The body refining pavilion killed all of the Saint Devil sects and our sect's elders who went to the southwest realm of cultivation. Peng Yuanhua went to the Chu country, and the Saint Devil sect is in the Qi country. For the body refining pavilion to be able to do such a thing, other than the fact that they don't have any spirit severing stage cultivators, their overall strength should not be weaker than our sect. And Mo Honkai hesitated. "Martial Uncle, could the news about the Shadow Pavilion be released by the body refining pavilion?" And junior brother Qingyang's death. Gu Deming looked at the jade slip in his hand and pondered. "There are Dharma treasures and sect tokens in here. The news about the Shadow Pavilion must have been provided by the body refining pavilion. As for junior brother Qingyang's death, it might have something to do with it." Speaking to here, he ordered, "Junior brother Mo, I will personally investigate junior brother Qingyang's death. During this time, tell all the nascent soul stage elders to stay in the sect. Do not leave easily." After this matter is resolved and we get back the Chaos Gourd, I will personally go to the southwest. And Mo Honkai respectfully said, Yes, Martial Uncle. Gut Deming waved his hand. You may leave. Also, restrain the disciples. Do not be arrogant just because I have reached the spirit-severing stage. The Xian Sect Grand Elder nodded and bowed. He took a few steps back, and then turned into a streak of light and left the ancient Qingyuan tree. Gu Deming stroked the yellow bird on his shoulder and said softly, I'll have to trouble you to patrol the territory during this time. The yellow bird nodded like a human and chirped twice. A tyrannical, demonic spiritual power flashed, and like a bolt of lightning, it disappeared. Gu Deming's figure fluttered, and he walked to the trunk of the tree. The thickwood seemed to be nothing, and he walked straight in. This was a medium-sized tree hole. There was a wooden stump in the middle, and a grayish-white short sword floated above it. The surface of the sword was densely covered with mysterious runes, and a green halo of mist surrounded it. Gu Deming stretched out his hand and gently beckoned. The short sword nimbly fell into his hand. He murmured, Too many people have forgotten the power of our sect's Chaos Gourd sword. Chapter 1132. Lu Kuan was flying through the air somewhere in the Great Yuan province. He reckoned that the Supreme Profound Sect had already begun their operation. Not long ago, he had searched Taoist Qingyang's nascent soul and stuffed it into the Night Fiend's stomach. As the nascent soul was digested, the Night Fiend's soul gradually dissipated. The Supreme Profound Sect's great cultivator was completely dead. The silver-winged Night Fiend in the ribcage couldn't receive the nourishment of the cold energy, causing its injuries to worsen. Since Lu Kuan wanted to hide in the dark, he naturally wouldn't use his own blood essence to heal it. In order to shift the blame to Zhongming Mountain, he simply used Taoist Qing Yang's nascent soul. The corpse core of a grade 10 silver-armored corpse could easily absorb the power of a great cultivator's nascent soul and convert it into pure energy to heal injuries. The Night Fiend's body gradually recovered as his nascent soul was digested. However, the injuries to his soul weren't so easily healed. After ensuring the Night Fiend's life, Lu Kuan locked onto a jade slip in his storage bracelet and carefully examined it. The Great Yuan province was extremely vast and was a long strip of land. Even with his speed, it would take him an entire day to reach its center. During this time, he divided his attention and examined his spoils of war. The storage bracelets of several nascent soul cultivators and a great cultivator. For other cultivators, this was simply a windfall. However, from Lu Kuan's point of view, the magic treasures and pills inside the bracelets were not of much use. On the contrary, the jade slips that recorded secret techniques and anecdotes were of greater help to him. The jade slip he was looking at came from a wandering cultivator killed by Taoist Qingyang. It described the wonders of supreme-grade spirit stones. After a while, Lu Kuan came to a realization. No wonder those wandering cultivators risked their lives to steal supreme-grade spirit stones. It turns out that they contain heaven-earth yuan qi that can be refined and absorbed by nascent soul cultivators. Generally speaking, only spirit-severing cultivators can absorb and refine heaven-earth yuan qi. The jade slip's description of supreme-grade spirit stones and the small amount of information he obtained from Taoist Qingyang's nascent soul allowed Lu Kuan to have a deeper understanding of spirit-severing cultivators. Cultivators at the peak of the late nascent soul stage could comprehend or fuse the power of will with their nascent soul to form the power of the nascent soul. This was a sublimation of the power of the nascent soul. After attaining the immortal soul formation cultivators would be able to truly control the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Other than the ability to trigger yuan qi attacks with a wave of their hands, they would also be able to absorb the yuan qi into their body and convert it into the true essence unique to soul formation cultivators. True essence was a form of energy that was of a higher level than mana. Just like how the power of a nascent soul cultivator was used against a core formation cultivator, it had a crushing advantage over lower level energies. Apart from absorbing pure spiritual energy, spirit-severing stage cultivators also needed to refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in order to cultivate and recover their true essence. However, the spiritual energy in the supreme grade spirit stones did not need to be refined and could be directly absorbed, saving a lot of time. However, supreme grade spirit stones were extremely rare in the cultivation world. Even soul formation cultivators rarely used them. According to the Jade Slip, when a spirit-severing cultivator made a breakthrough, their physical body would be cleansed by the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Whether it was the strength of their body or their meridians, they would all be strengthened. If a nascent soul cultivator absorbed the spiritual energy from the supreme grade spirit stones, although they would not have the power of the immortal soul and would not be able to form true essence, the spiritual energy would still be able to nourish their Dharma body and slightly cleanse their physical body. Other than healing the internal injuries of the physical body, it could also increase the affinity of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. With the help of supreme grade spirit stones, a cultivator at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage would have a much higher chance of making a breakthrough. This rogue cultivator had many internal injuries in his body because of years of fighting. His cultivation level was also stuck at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. He was extremely thirsty for supreme grade spirit stones. Unfortunately, he met Taoist Qingyang. The power of the spiritual energy transformation was not something an ordinary nascent soul stage cultivator could resist. After reading this Jade Slip, Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth has a nourishing effect on the physical body. I have not tried it yet. Now that my internal organs are still recovering from the healing process, I could try absorbing the supreme grade spirit stones and see if there is any effect. Lu Kuan had obtained a supreme grade spirit stone from the hands of the level 10 demon turtle. Although he could see the existence of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in it, he did not try it. Now that he had obtained 2 more pieces, he could definitely test it out. Let's go to the Zhongming Mountain first. Lu Kuan put away his thoughts. While flying, he checked the other jade slips. The Zhongming Mountain was adjacent to the Guiyuan River. It was a low hill that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. There was no green at all. There was grayish-black soil and sand everywhere. The highest hill was less than 500 feet. In the tens of thousands of miles high in the sky, there were many small space cracks. From time to time, grayish-black cold wind would blow out. There was very little power of space inside, but it contained a lot of cold power. It circled above the Zhongming Mountain, causing the place to be gray all year round. With the passage of time, these cold winds would gradually gather. When they were strong enough, cold rain would fall, replenishing the cold power of heaven and earth. The Zhongming Mountain near the Guiyuan River was quite quiet. Except for the sound of the waves, there was only the roar of some dead creatures. It seemed gloomy. On this day, a light silver figure suddenly rushed out from the Guiyuan River. With an unparalleled speed, it rushed into the depths of the Zhongming Mountain. The figure was covered in broken silver scales, revealing green zombie hair. The wings on its back were badly mangled. Although it was seriously injured, it still seemed to have the will to fly. Its body was covered in a layer of silver light. Wherever it passed, the cold power was stirred into gray vortexes by an invisible force. Many dead creatures were alarmed by this huge movement. When they sensed the familiar aura of the silver-winged night fiend, they all revealed expressions of fear. Only a few creatures with profound cultivation noticed something unusual. As it flew, the heavily injured silver-winged night fiend landed in the core area where the cold energy was the densest. As if he couldn't control his strength, he crashed into the gray ground. A few moments later, a slender zombie covered in silver scales appeared at the night fiend's side, accompanied by an icy aura. It was slightly smaller than the night fiend and had no wings on its back. Instead, it had a row of sharp bone spikes. These spikes were the color of ice and emitted an astonishing cold chi. Icy mist flowed out from the spikes and permeated the silver scales, forming a layer of ice. This zombie was one of the corpse kings of the Zhongming Mountain, the Icebone Night Fiend. At almost the same time, a dark yellow light surged from the ground, and a huge zombie drilled out. It had a green face and sharp fangs. Its body was covered in rusty scales, and it emitted an incomparably vigorous aura. It was another Corpse King, the Earth Night Fiend. When the Earth Night Fiend saw the Night Fiend's body, his voice was filled with shock. How did Silverwing suffer such heavy injuries? Even his soul has fallen into a deep slumber. The Icebone Night Fiend extended a silver claw and pressed it against the Night Fiend's back. A clear female voice came from its fanged mouth. Silverwing is digesting the nascent soul of a great cultivator. If it weren't for the nourishment of this energy, his body would have already collapsed. Then, she looked at the 2 storage bracelets on his wrist. Before she could do anything, a dark yellow spirit light flashed and the bracelets floated away. The Night Fiend's gaze turned cold. Earth Night Fiend, what is the meaning of this? The Earth Night Fiend took the bracelets and indifferently said, "What's the rush? We Corpse Kings don't compete with each other. Can I take a look first?" As he spoke, he probed the bracelets with his spiritual sense. Soon after, the scales on his face twitched and he tossed them away. The Night Fiend was still angry, but after examining the bracelets, his eyes flashed with shock. Taoist Azure Sun, the 3rd elder of the Supreme Profound Sect. The nascent soul in Silverwing's body can't be Taoist Azure Sun, right? The Earth Night Fiend's tone sank. The Supreme Profound Sect now has a spirit-severing cultivator. We can't be compared to the past. Let's gather a few Corpse Kings first and help Silverwing heal. When he wakes up, we'll ask him what happened. All right. The Earth Night Fiend then carried the silver-winged Night Fiend on his shoulder. The 2 Corpse Kings turned into 2 streaks of light and flew into the depths of the Zhoming Mountain. Chapter 1133. After the 2 Corpse Kings left with the silver-winged Night Fiend, Lu Kuan revealed a satisfied expression. He had purposely placed the 2 storage bracelets there. There were many treasures inside. In addition to Taoist Azure Sun's sect token, there was also the Primordial Gourd. He had also reluctantly placed 2 top-grade spirit stones. I just need to find a place to wait. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and then moved. He used his body's source strength to agilely walk through the void, flying towards the north of the middle underworld mountains. That area was close to the ancient spirit state, which was filled with demonic energy. Even if Gu Deming came, he wouldn't pass through this area. He flew until he was 100 miles away before he slowed down. This place was beyond the sensing range of the Zombie King's territory. Moreover, at this distance, he would even be able to detect the battle waves of a Grand Cultivator, let alone the battle between Gu Deming and the Zombie Kings. After Lu Kuan carefully scouted the surrounding undead creatures, he found a small hill in a remote corner where the cold air was thin and there were no living creatures. He quickly dug out a cave several dozen feet wide and sealed the entrance. At the same time, he placed a large amount of Dragonbreaker stone powder on the cave walls to isolate the aura. For bone transformation body cultivators, Dragonbreaker stone was the most commonly used material. The power of the 5 elements restrictions and imprisonment techniques all used this material to isolate spirit energy. Currently, the Treasure Pavilion had begun to purchase Dragonbreaker stones from the Chu and Qi kingdoms. The ones he brought out from the Yi Yuan secret realm were no longer enough. After arranging everything, Lu Kuan had Shi Er as stand guard. A light flashed in his hand, and a crystal-clear stone appeared. He lowered his head and pondered. He threw one of the top-grade spirit stones into the silver-winged Night Fiend's bracelet. He had obtained one from a rank 10 demonic turtle many years ago. That spirit stone only had half of the world's origin energy left. The one in his hand now had plenty of origin energy. According to the method described in the Jade Slip, nascent soul cultivators absorb top-grade spirit stones like ordinary spirit stones. But when the origin energy enters the body, it needs to be refined with the power of the nascent soul. Only then can it be transformed into a special origin energy that can nourish the body. A bone transformation stage body cultivator is different from a nascent soul stage cultivator. I'll absorb it into my body first. Then, Lu Kuan held the supreme grade spirit stone in one hand and began to absorb it. The wisps of spiritual qi that contained primordial qi entered his muscles from his hand. He hesitated for a moment before turning them into mana. At this moment, a destructive energy suddenly surged in his body. The muscles of his arm that was holding the spirit stone suddenly swelled, and blood vessels appeared on his arm. The formed mana can't coexist with the mana. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. Just as the spiritual energy was converted into magical power, his demonic energy violently tumbled, rejecting the magical power that contained vitality. Thus, his arm trembled slightly as he sent the converted yuan qi and dermic powers into his blood. At the middle stage of bone transformation, one's bones and muscles were filled with magic energy. According to Lu Kuan's speculations, only at the late stage of bone transformation would one's blood be able to store magic energy. Now, his blood was still very pure, and the mana was smoothly stored in it. There is mana within the mana, and it conflicts with the heaven and earth yuan qi. Unless the mana is exhausted, this kind of mana cannot enter the muscles and bones. Now that I'm in Zhoming Mountain, I can fight at any time. If I can't disperse the mana, then I'll try the internal organs. Lu Kuan did not have any hopes of using the mana to temper other parts of the body. His focus was on the internal organs. This part of the body had become weak because of the consciousness shock wave that was generated when he was healing. It needed to be repaired and nourished the most. With a thought, his blood wrapped a part of the mana, and dermic powers entered the internal organs through the capillaries. The earliest time to temper the internal organs was at the beginning stage of body cultivation, the cultivation stage of the Vajra esoteric art. At that time, the most simple spiritual energy was used to temper and strengthen the internal organs. At the viscera forging stage, it was nourished with dermic powers. At the bone treasure stage, the internal organs were strengthened through the gradual strengthening of the blood. It was nourished subtly, and the improvement was very small. At the bone transformation stage, the entire body became a unified whole. On one hand, the strength of the bone cells gradually spread throughout the body, strengthening every part of the body. The speed was very slow. On the other hand, the internal organs were strengthened through the cultivation of a life force. At this time, Lu Kuan was using the viscera forging stage mana and nourishment method. But after a few rounds of mana and dermic powers, the weak internal organs did not have the slightest reaction. Even if he changed the route several times, the result was the same. The mana can't come into close contact with the internal organs. Is it because the mana is only at the peak of foundation establishment, or is it because the mana has not been refined? Lu Kuan continued to circulate the mana and dermic powers in the blood while he fell into deep thought. Nascent soul stage cultivators use the power of the nascent soul to refine, but I don't have this kind of energy. The mana I have is incompatible with it, and the origin strength of the body is an external power. Or should I say, life force? Before, the aura of the underworld insect race's sacred item could not enter the depths of the internal organs. Isn't it the same as the mana and dermic powers now? Thinking of this, he mobilized the life force in his body and entered his internal organs through his spine. At the same time, he condensed the blood essence, wrapped the mana and dermic powers, and entered his internal organs and blood vessels. As the life force circulated, the blood essence was gradually absorbed by the life force, but the mana and dermic powers inside did not have any reaction. That's right, the life force can't absorb dermic powers. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and used the blood crystallization technique to disperse the converted dermic powers into pure spiritual qi, only wrapping the mana within. Just as he finished doing all this, the yuan qi and essence blood were sucked into his internal organs by a suction force, where they were absorbed and refined by his life force. Lu Kuan revealed a trace of joy and urged the life force that contained the mana to circulate. With each circulation, A strange energy radiated from the life force and spread to all parts of his internal organs. Sensing the slight changes in his internal organs, he was pleasantly surprised. The jade slip was right. No, it should have been underestimated. The vitality nourishes the internal organs beyond imagination. With just a little vitality, the weak internal organs have recovered a lot. Maybe my internal organs are strong enough to fully absorb the vitality, or maybe it's because physique cultivators use the life force to refine instead of the nascent soul stage power. Hey, the vitality has been consumed. With the slight recovery of his internal organs, the life force returned to its previous state, and the vitality in the blood essence disappeared. Lu Kuan continued to absorb the supreme grade spirit stone. He did not convert the dermic powers, but directly introduced a pure spiritual qi with vitality into his blood. In addition to circulating it like before, he also tried to cultivate the life force. After a few rounds, he found that from the perspective of cultivation, the life force did not increase after absorbing the vitality. Its improvement was still through the consumption of the blood essence. This meant that the vitality was the same as the aura of the underworld race's holy artifact, which was equivalent to an additional attribute. The holy artifact's attribute was that it would create a great conflict with other consciousnesses, and they could destroy and dissolve each other. When the vitality in the supreme grade spirit stone combined with the life force, it had the effect of nourishing and repairing the internal organs. If I had enough supreme grade spirit stones, wouldn't the damaged internal organs be able to quickly recover? The consumption of blood essence in the process would be greatly reduced, and the recovery time would be shortened. When Lu Kuan thought of this, he could not help but reveal a pained expression. If he had known earlier, he would have only left one supreme grade spirit stone with the silver-winged night fiend. Let's see how the situation develops. If there's a chance, I'll think of a way to snatch it back from the corpse kings. After calming his mind, he continued to absorb the supreme grade spirit stone, using the vitality within to repair the damage to his internal organs. Chapter 1134. The Corpse King Valley was located at the center of the Middle Underworld Mountains, surrounded by 5 hills. On this day, in the sky above this small valley that spanned over 10 miles, a large amount of gray, cold wind surged. These spiritual winds gathered from all over Zhongming Mountain, as if something was attracting them. The cold wind accumulated more and more, gradually forming a grayish-black cloud. Then, dark purple lightning suddenly shot out from the valley and blasted into the cloud. The cold cloud was like boiling water, rippling violently. Tiny bolts of lightning were circulating within it, and a terrifying pressure of yin qi was emitted from it. These extremely cold and gloomy clouds swirled inwards under the lingering lightning, forming a funnel cloud that enveloped several kilometers in diameter. Rumble, accompanied by a muffled rumble of thunder, a dark gray pillar of yin energy gushed out from the huge cloud vortex and fell toward the center of the valley. The silver-winged night fiend lay flat on the ground at the center of the valley, surrounded by 4 terrifying zombies. In addition to the Icebone Night Fiend and Earth Night Fiend, there were 2 more Corpse Kings. One of them had bright silver scales all over its body. Its color was the brightest among all the Corpse Kings. Its body was slender, and its face was not covered by scales. It looked like a face made of gray wax. Its eyes and mouth were collapsed inwards, melting into 3 pitch-black holes. This was the spirit-devouring Night Fiend of the Middle Underworld Mountains. The final Corpse King had a purple face and fangs. Lightning seemed to surge in its eyes, and 2 thick bone spurs protruded from its shoulders. Dark purple lightning flowed from them and roamed around its body. Its body was extremely sturdy, even thicker than the other Corpse Kings. Its silver scales couldn't completely cover it, and green hair could be seen squeezing through the cracks. This was the leader of the Middle Underworld Mountains' 5 great Corpse Kings, the Thunderous Night Fiend. At this moment, he was raising both of his hands. Dark purple lightning curled around his thick palms. His aura was extremely cold, but it also seemed to contain a terrifying destructive power. Waves of mysterious fluctuations were emitted, guiding the grayish-black spirit pillars to fall from the sky. As he cast his arts, the thick pillar of energy gradually shrank until it covered the Night Fiend's body. As the energy poured into the Night Fiend's body, the shattered corpse chi armor began to shine, and the torn flesh began to heal. The thunderous Night Fiend opened his mouth, releasing a sparkling, translucent crystal. It floated above the Night Fiend's abdomen, enveloped in dense energy. If Lu Kuan were here, he would have discovered that this item was identical to the underworld insect sacred artifact in his possession. Condense the power of blood and activate the underworld crystal. With the thunderous Night Fiend's deep voice, the four corpse kings trembled. They opened their sinister mouths and spat out thumb-sized drops of silver blood, underworld essence. In addition to the profound chi and blood force, each drop of blood also contained a special fluctuation of spiritual energy. They fused together and covered the octagonal crystal. The four corpse kings' energy surged as if they were activating a secret technique. The drops of blood melted on the underworld insect sacred artifact, and half of it disappeared. Then, a multicolored light shot out and entered the Night Fiend's abdomen. A wisp of willpower that could nourish all living things flashed through the Night Fiend's body. An invisible wave of consciousness spread out, causing the healing flesh to split open once more. The Corpse Kings seemed to have expected this. They spat out another drop of silver blood into the silver-winged Night Fiend's fong-filled mouth. His flesh trembled slightly and began to heal. Corpse chi surged through his body. After a short while, the dark gray pillar of spirit aura disappeared. The cold and gloomy clouds in the sky above the valley also gradually dispersed. They once again turned into sporadic gray and gloomy winds and hovered in the air. The Night Fiend's eyes snapped open, his silver pupils filled with terror. The wings on his back unfurled and quickly wrapped around his body. But then he noticed his surroundings. His wings drooped down and he blankly said, "Thunder. This is the middle underworld mountain. Did you save me?" The Night Fiend swallowed the underworld insect sacred artifact and narrowed his eyes. "Silverwing, you flew back with serious injuries. Do you remember?" The Night Fiend was stunned. "I came back on my own." The Icebone Night Fiend said, "You flew out of the Origin River a day ago. You were seriously injured and fainted. If you hadn't devoured the nascent soul of a great cultivator, your body would have already collapsed." The Night Fiend sensed his body, and his expression became strange. He opened his mouth and saw an extremely dim nascent soul floating before him. Its soul had collapsed, and half of its nascent soul power had dissipated. He could barely make out its appearance. Taoist Azure Sun's nascent soul? What's going on? How did I kill him? The Night Fiend was dumbfounded. The other Corpse Kings looked at each other in dismay. The Icebone Night Fiend took out 2 storage bracelets and tossed them over. "I found them on your body." The Night Fiend took the bracelets and scanned them with his spiritual sense. His pupils shrank when he saw something inside. His hand flashed with light and an azure gourd appeared. Then he thought of something and searched through the bracelets. 2 top-grade spirit stones brimming with spiritual chi floated in front of everyone. The Night Fiend blankly said, "Origin gourd, top-grade spirit stones." Did I really kill Taoist Azure Sun and obtain this spirit treasure replica? The Night Fiend said gravely, "Silverwing, tell us what you remember." The Night Fiend recalled the situation and slowly said, "A few days ago, I received a vision of a top-grade spirit stone appearing in Diyuan Province's Crimson Cloud Mountain." So, he began to describe what happened next. In the end, the Night Fiend looked at the azure gourd with lingering fear. "I didn't expect this spirit treasure replica to be so powerful after infusing it with Ascended Stage true essence. That sword will heavily injure my soul." Later, the Origin Chi sword it released was even more terrifying. If it wasn't for the corpse core's bloodthirsty intent blocking it for a moment, I probably wouldn't have had time to defend myself. Then I felt the world spinning and lost consciousness. When I woke up, I saw you all. The spirit-devouring night fiend, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. A hollow voice came from its pitch-black mouth. Could it be that bloodthirsty intent temporarily took over your consciousness? Bloodthirsty intent? What the spirit-devouring night fiend said makes sense. It might have been stimulated by ascended stage, true essence, and temporarily controlled Silverwing's body. Thunder Yiksha's eyes flashed with lightning. He shook his head. If it really was bloodthirsty intent, Silverwing's consciousness would have been devoured long ago. Even if it was nourished with dark spirit crystal, he wouldn't have awakened. The spirit-devouring night fiend said, Silverwing is the youngest among us. His consciousness has only been awakened for 800 years. There's still a long way to go before he reaches 2,000 years. Bloodthirsty intent might not have been able to successfully devour him. Plus, there's ascended stage true essence blocking him. But there's still one thing that doesn't make sense. Thinking for a moment, Thunder Yiksha waved his hand and took the immemorial gourd into his hand. He sensed it carefully and said slowly, according to Silverwing's description, this immemorial gourd contains Gu Deming's true essence. Mount Crimson is where his ascended stage true essence is located. The chi of heaven and earth here is extremely compatible. Even if Silverwing's consciousness was taken over by bloodthirsty intent and his body was heavily injured, he wouldn't be Taoist Qingyang's match. The Silverwing Night Fiend suddenly said, could it be that wild silver-armored corpse? Although I was only surprised for a moment, I sensed that fellow's energy was exceptionally pure. It seemed to be at the peak of the 9th rank. Thunder Yiksha thought for a moment. Peak level 9 silver-armored corpse? It's possible that it launched a sneak attack while Taoist Qingyang was casting his spell. But there's such a high-level, wild, silver-armored corpse outside Zhongming Mountain? Could have been refined by other cultivators. The Night Fiend looked at the immemorial gourd. If it was some other great cultivator who launched a sneak attack, they wouldn't be willing to part with this spirit treasure replica. Thunder Yiksha nodded. Even an ascended stage cultivator wouldn't be able to ignore such a treasure. He was silent for a while and slowly said, the treasure is in our hands, so we naturally won't return it. It's fine if Gu Deming doesn't come, but if he dares to come, we 5 great corpse kings might have to contend with him. Chapter 1135. Apart from the spirit-devouring Yiksha, who was expressionless, the other 3 corpse kings looked fearful when they heard the Thunder Yiksha's words. The silver-winged Yiksha hesitated. Thunder, I heard you say that the 5 corpse kings don't fear soul formation cultivators in Middle Underworld Mountain, but a trace of fear flashed through his eyes as he said, but that Taoist Qingyang almost killed me with just a strand of soul formation stage true essence and a spirit treasure replica. If a soul formation stage cultivator really came, beside him, the ice-boned Yiksha seemed to have thought of something. Thunder, is this the secret joint technique you mentioned before? That's right. Thunder Yiksha snorted coldly and said, 600 years ago, the old man of the Prime Devil sect had his eyes on the Middle Underworld Mountain. He wanted to refine some devil zombie. In the end, I, Devouring Spirit, and the 3 zombie kings of the previous generation used a secret art to force him back. He looked at the other 3 corpse kings. It's been 200 or 300 years since the 3 of you entered the 10th realm. You've basically refined the essence of the previous corpse king's blood, so you can use this secret technique. To prevent Gu Deming from the Supreme Mystery Sect from coming here, I'll teach you the secret technique to resist soul formation cultivators. Thunder Yaksha sorted out his thoughts and said, cultivators of the soul formation stage have 2 great strengths. One is their divine will, which contains their will, and the other is their powerful true essence. The former can easily attack the divine soul of anyone below the soul formation stage, while the latter can activate the terrifying divine ability of transforming vital chi. This secret joint technique targets these 2 points. He snorted. Ever since the fusion of heaven and earth, these cultivators can only use pseudo-divine soul formation techniques to break through. Only in their soul formation region can they manipulate true essence. Mount Crimson is within Gu Deming's true essence, so Daoist Qingyang was able to manifest true essence with just a wisp of true essence and a spirit treasure replica. But out of this region, soul formation cultivators can still manipulate true essence, but the consumption of true essence will greatly increase. As the true essence becomes thinner, the consumption will increase. It's the same for soul formation cultivators of the demonic sect. But what they control is devil essence, which is closely related to the density of devil chi. Thunder Yiksha raised his head and looked at the sky. Above Corpse King Valley, wisps of gray, cold wind were circling. When these pseudo-divine transformation realm warriors arrive at the middle underworld mountain, they won't have any chi of heaven and earth or devil chi to use. They will have to either suppress their opponents with their thick true essence or activate the refined true essence in their true essence to create the power of true essence. If I do this, my Zhen Yuan consumption will reach a terrifying level. I won't be able to fight for long. One of the methods of the secret technique is to combine our cold and yin energy together. With the help of a supreme grade spiritual stone, we can temporarily produce a burst of nether energy that only metal elite zombies have. This energy is on the same level as Zhen Yuan and is enough to resist it. Dark Origin, the Night Fiend rubbed his body, recalling the terrifying attack he had suffered. He couldn't help but ask, if he activates the Yuan Qi in his Zhen Yuan and uses Yuan Qi manifestation, will Dark Essence be able to block it? And there's also willpower. Do I have to activate Bloodthirst to resist? At that moment, the Night Fiend's hollow voice sounded. Your situation was a special case. If I release the Bloodthirst in my corpse core, my consciousness will be completely devoured, which is equivalent to death. The other Corpse Kings all showed a silent expression, and their eyes flashed with a bit of unwillingness. Although zombies wouldn't die naturally, their consciousness would dissipate. A peak 10th rank silver armored corpse could maintain its consciousness for 2,000 years at most. Lower level zombies could last even less before their consciousness was devoured by the bloodthirst in their bodies. These zombies would kill all other creatures, be it zombies, cultivators, demonic cultivators, or even demon beasts, devouring their nascent souls and nadens. Once a bloodthirsty zombie appeared, it would become the public enemy of all races. The reason the Middle Underworld Mountain had been able to survive until now was not only because of its powerful overall strength and the lack of chi of heaven and earth, but also because it could reduce the number of bloodthirsty zombies. The cold and yin energy here was dense, and the zombies gathered here all had their own consciousness. They were new kind of life. Whenever a zombie's consciousness was about to dissipate, they would self-destruct their corpse cores to force out the essence of their bodies. They didn't want their bodies to become mindless beasts after death. Hearing the word bloodthirst, Thunder Yiksha's eyes flashed with hatred. I don't know what the overlords of the Netherbugs did after creating the zombies, but the bloodthirst will appear as soon as the new zombies absorb the yin energy. They're doing this to mislead us to try to merge with the bloodthirst, but will only become beasts and won't be able to reach a higher level. Remember, you can only try to suppress the bloodthirst. Never release it, the silver-winged Yiksha said. But without the corresponding willpower, how can you resist the attack of a soul formation cultivator? The ice-armored Yiksha suddenly thought of something. A ray of blue light flashed in his eyes. Is it the underworld's spirit crystal? That's right. Thunder Yiksha nodded. He reached out his hand, and an octagonal crystal appeared in front of him, spinning slowly. He said in a deep voice, because of the bloodthirst, the zombies reached their limit after reaching the peak of level 10. 40,000 years ago, a zombie king from the Zhongming Mountain encountered a severely injured soul formation and nascent soul cultivator on the ancient battlefield of the Broken Nation and ate him. But after returning to the middle underworld mountain, he couldn't absorb the powerful soul formation cultivator, even with the help of a large amount of Yin energy. In the end, the zombie king activated the underworld spirit crystal in the middle underworld mountain. Not only did he absorb the soul formation cultivator's true yuan, but he also refined his willpower. His consciousness condensed a crystal in his mind. That zombie king had an extreme Yin body and was highly compatible with the Yin energy. With the help of a supreme-grade spirit stone and the soul formation cultivator's true yuan, he condensed the underworld spirit crystal in his body and became the first metal elite zombie with self-awareness. Apart from the spirit-devouring Yiksha, the other three zombie kings all looked at Thunder Yiksha. They had only reached level 10 in the past few hundred years, and this was the first time they had heard of the secrets of the Metal Elite Zombie. This secret art was created by Senior Metal Elite Zombie. The Thunder Yiksha stared at the consciousness crystal with a hint of intoxication in his eyes. According to this senior's guess, this sacred relic of the Netherworm is a kind of pure consciousness crystal made by a powerhouse of this race. The Underworld Bug Clan's cultivation system doesn't allow them to comprehend willpower, but to condense this consciousness crystal. The Metal Elite Zombie is able to control both the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth and the demonic Yuan Qi with ease. Furthermore, he is unaffected by the restrictions of the region. Coupled with his perfect consciousness, his abilities are so powerful that he doesn't need to fear any divine transformation cultivator. At this point, Yiksha was silent for a moment before he continued. Who would have thought that not long after Metal Elite Zombie revealed this ability, 3 demigod stage cultivators would come knocking on his door. They coveted Metal Elite Zombie's ability to control all kinds of Yuan Qi and wanted to study its secrets. After an earth-shattering battle, these people and Metal Elite Zombie disappeared without a trace. The Silver-Winged Yiksha and Ice Armor couldn't help but clench their fists. Thunder Yiksha shook his head. That's a bit off topic. The secret art to resist soul formation cultivator's willpower is to use the consciousness crystal as the core. Just like Silver Wing, it relies on the power of Heart's blood to activate it. At the same time, it has to be flexible in changing the corpse energy armor. All you need to do is the Silver-Winged Yiksha and the other 3 zombie kings listened attentively. Waves of corpse energy and Yin energy surged from their bodies and began to evolve. Chapter 1136. A handsome young man in a green robe appeared beside the Guiyuan River in the southern part of the Zhongming Mountain. His feet were bare, and his body was surrounded by a thin layer of light green mist. He floated quietly in the air, and there was a wisp of green spirit light in his palm that was spinning in a spiral. Soon, it turned into an arrow that pointed towards the depths of the middle underworld mountain. This person was Gu Deming. He looked at the arrowhead in his palm with a cold glint in his eyes. The immemorial gourd is in the Zhongming Mountain? These corpse kings are truly audacious, attacking the supreme profound sex head. After leaving the Qingyuan Valley, Gu Deming first went to MT Crimson. He used a secret technique to investigate. In addition to the 2 silver-armored corpses, he also sensed the auras of many unfamiliar cultivators. Unfortunately, he couldn't determine their cultivation level. If there were only 2 silver-armored corpses, Daoist Qingyang and the other Xian sect elders could resist them with the help of the space-cutting formation and the immemorial gourd. He suspected that a third party was involved. Out of caution, Gu Deming used a secret technique to sense the remaining true Yuan aura of the immemorial gourd. If someone else was involved, the immemorial gourd couldn't have fallen into the hands of the Zhongming Mountain. No cultivator could resist the temptation of a spirit treasure replica. In the end, he tracked them all the way to the Zhongming Mountain. Rumor has it that the spirit-devouring Yikshas and the Wutu Yikshas are proficient in concealment techniques. If the 3 corpse kings were to launch a sneak attack, they might succeed. But there's another possibility. This immemorial gourd is a bait. Just in case, I have to hold back. Gu Deming's expression was cold. With a flip of his hand, the blue arrowhead in his hand disappeared. An incomparably powerful pressure surged from his body. The blue mist outside his body turned into a bright blue light, and an incomparably powerful aura spread out. This dazzling escape light carried a trace of blue halo and a tail flame. It streaked across the sky, and the cold wind that contained a bit of the power of space was scattered by this huge spiritual pressure before it could touch the escape light. The undead creatures within a radius of a few hundred kilometers all sensed the boundless, terrifying aura. It was as if the sky was about to collapse, and they all fled in fear. It didn't take long for a spirit-severing cultivator to cover a distance of several thousand miles. He didn't conceal his aura along the way and arrived outside the Corpse King Valley without any hindrance. Gu Deming sensed the dense cold air floating above the valley, as well as a special restrictive force. He snorted coldly and formed a seal with his hands. Waves of frightening mana fluctuations surged between his hands, and a dark green light ball appeared. With a light wave of his hand, the light ball, which was only the size of a watermelon, turned into an arc and shot towards the Corpse King Valley. When it reached the sky above the valley, the light ball suddenly exploded, and dozens of extremely nimble green spirit snakes scuttled out. At this instant, this deathly silent gorge seemed as if it was situated within a green forest, and an aura of endless growth and nourishment gushed out from it. The stench of corpses in the nearby air was dispersed, and it emitted a fresh smell. These green spirit snakes were like spring thunder, blasting towards the Corpse King Valley. Boom, boom, boom. Astonishing air waves surged outwards. Under the impact of this completely different and terrifying aura, the grayish-black cold air was fragmented. The cold air in the distance was also impacted into countless cold whirlwinds, rolling outwards and forming a cold wave. Spirit-severing cultivators, just by relying on their vigorous true yuan, could cast spells that were far more powerful than late nascent soul cultivators. However, this level of attack wasn't enough to pose a threat to the 5 Corpse Kings. His goal was to disperse the restrictive force of the Corpse King Valley and force them out. Sure enough, a low voice came from the bottom of the valley. Gu Deming, the middle underworld mountain isn't the Daiyuan province. It's not a place for you to behave atrociously. I advise you to leave quickly. Hearing this, Gu Deming said with some contempt in his voice, if it was a metal elite corpse, I would still be somewhat afraid. But just a few level 10 silver elite corpses, and you dare to speak like this? If you know what's good for you, hand over the sect treasure, and I can leave you with a trace of consciousness. As he spoke, the spirit-severing cultivator's divine sense spread out. His gaze suddenly froze. Although he could sense the aura of the 5 Corpse Kings, there was a layer of strange aura at the bottom of the valley that was a bit like a divine sense restriction, and he couldn't see the situation inside clearly. That low voice snorted coldly. Back then, even the old man of the Prime Devil Sect didn't talk so big when he came. Your Supreme Mystery Sect's Chaos Gourd is with us. Come and take it if you can. When Gu Deming heard this, although his expression was still arrogant, he raised his guard. It sounded like the old monster of the Prime Devil Sect had come to the middle underworld mountain before, and couldn't do anything to these Corpse Kings. He didn't beat around the bush. His hand seals flashed, and a stream of true essence gushed out from his nascent soul. A green sword of light, several feet long, appeared in front of him. It had a green halo circulating around it, and there was a layer of mysterious runes on its surface, emitting an aura of endless vitality. Gu Deming directly used the vital chi in his true essence. In this environment, without any spirit chi, he struck out with a vital chi manifestation spell. This green sword of light that emitted a terrifying wave of vital chi blasted out with a tail of vital chi flame. That powerful vital chi pressure continuously pressed down on the surrounding cold chi. The thick gray fog at the bottom of the valley seemed to have sensed the terror of this attack and quickly condensed inwards. A huge figure was exposed in the empty Corpse King Valley. This was an incomparably ferocious one-legged monster. It was more than 10 feet tall, with a purple face and fangs. Its head had the face of a thunder yiksha, but in between its eyebrows, there was a translucent, multifaceted crystal, which faintly flashed with colorful light. On both sides of the shoulders of the head, there were two bone spurs that were about the same height. They were flashing with dark purple lightning. The torso below was abnormally strong. It was covered in thick muscles, with silver scales and green hair hanging from it. Its right arm was very thick. Just the circumference of its arm alone was equivalent to the size of an entire zombie. However, there were no lines of muscles, and it was like a cylindrical pillar wrapped in a layer of bright silver scales. The front part of its right arm didn't have a palm, but a fist that looked like it was made of flesh-colored wax. This flesh-colored wax had collapsed inward into 3 pitch-black holes. This monster's left arm was only half the length of its right arm, but it was twice as thick. It was like a silver ball of flesh, and there was a row of bone spurs several feet long on it, emitting an astonishing cold chi. The sole leg of its lower body was even thicker than its huge torso. It was covered in yellow, rusty scales. On the back of its thigh, which was as thick as a millstone, was a pair of shiny silver wings that were gently flapping. This monster with the head of a thunder yiksha looked at the vital chi sword of light that was shooting towards it, and a sinister smile appeared on its face. Its meatball-like left arm and right hand were pressed against its chest. A regular pentagonal silver shield suddenly appeared in front of it, and at the same time, the multifaceted crystal between the thunder yiksha's eyebrows shot out a ray of 5-colored light at the shield. A golden light quickly spread across the shield, shining with a golden halo, and directly blocked the powerful vital chi sword. Rumble. Green-gold halos crazily intertwined, and terrifying energy fluctuations crazily overflowed. The defense of the golden shield seemed to be insufficient, and it was pushed back by the light sword bit by bit. In the sky above the Corpse King Valley, the cold chi that had been blasted away seemed to be attracted by something and surged over, entering the monster's body. Although the golden light shield was a little dim, it still didn't dissipate. The powerful aftershocks produced by the two halos rolled in all directions, and the hard rocks on the ground that had been tempered by the cold chi for countless years gradually shattered. The huge monster full of thick corpse chi was still able to stabilize its body under the huge impact, and its body seemed to contain powerful brute force. What kind of zombie is this? Gu Deming's eyes darkened, and his hand seals surged. The green light sword suddenly exploded, turning into countless small short swords that dodged the golden shield and blasted towards the monster's body. Boom! A green-gold ball of light exploded, forming a halo wave that crazily spread in all directions, and the entire Corpse King Valley trembled violently. Chapter 1137. The Ancestor of Body Cultivators. Weekend Update. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 1138. The explosive power of this Yuan Chi sword was incomparably terrifying. The solid rocks on the ground of Corpse King Valley were blasted open, leaving behind only a small amount of corpse energy. The tall and ferocious zombie seemed to have been blasted into ashes by this terrifying attack. Something's wrong. Gu Deming didn't feel the joy of victory. Instead, he frowned and spread his divine sense, which contained the power of will in all directions. Then he seemed to have discovered something. The true essence in his body surged. He formed a seal with his hands, and two green spiritual balls appeared in his palms. He threw them down. Almost at the same time, on the ground below, a mass of yellow spiritual light emerged. A huge, ferocious zombie drilled out of the ground and soared into the sky. Its bloated body looked intact, as if it hadn't been hurt at all. Its body was agile. With a sidestep, it dodged the two spiritual power attacks and went straight to Gu Deming's body. Bang! But who would have thought that, accompanied by a strong green light, The two spiritual balls twisted and turned into a dozen or so thick vines that were 10 feet in length. The vines were covered with green thorns and were faintly flashing with a halo. It was like a green octopus, stretching out its tentacles and wrapping the ferocious one-legged zombie with lightning speed. On those thorns, dark green light spots condensed and scattered on the zombie's scales and green hair, trying to penetrate into the zombie's body. The sudden appearance of the vines made the one-legged zombie unable to react. It was directly trapped and stopped in midair. However, its reaction was extremely fast. Its right hand, which looked like it was made of wax, stretched out, and the 3 black holes on it emitted a strong suction force. The light spots condensed on the thorns were directly sucked in. Then, the bone spurs on its shoulders emitted 2 dark purple thunderbolts. A layer of dark yellow flames also appeared on its one leg. The aura of the thunderbolts and fire was amazing. It was no less than the spiritual pressure on the vines. Boom! A ball of purplish-yellow lightning exploded, and the dozen or so thick vines withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, a terrifying brute force gushed out from the one-legged zombie's bucket-thick arms, and with a push, the vines were easily torn apart, turning into specks of spiritual light and dissipating. In midair, Gu Deming, after a moment of obstruction by the vines, had a 3-foot-long dark green jade ruler in front of him. It was his life's source magic weapon, the Qing Yuan ruler. This magic weapon was also integrated with the Tai green stone. Although Peng Yuanhua's imitation of the dark green ruler was based on the Chaos Sword, its structure was based on the Qing Yuan ruler. With the infusion of Gu Deming's true essence, the Qing Yuan ruler shot out a thick green sword light. An aura that seemed to be able to tear the void appeared and blasted towards the zombie that had just escaped. The monstrous momentum was no less than the power of the manifestation of true Qi. In the face of the fierce attack, the one-legged zombie's eyes were not flustered at all. The silver flesh wings on the back of its thighs flapped slightly, and an extremely cold wind, a tribute spiritual power, flashed. Its huge body was in a trance for a moment, and then it turned into a breeze and disappeared in place. The sword light lost its target and directly bombarded the ground. The sword chi formed by Tai's green light seemed to be piercing through the Zhongming mountain under the activation of the demigod realm's vital energy. Endless rumbling sounds came from the black hole in the rock. It was unknown how deep it went. Wind escape technique? Perceiving the aura of the wind attribute, Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. On the green light shield outside his body, a spherical fog suddenly gushed out and spread in all directions. It also contained an endless power of will. Just after doing all this, the one-legged zombie's huge body staggered and fell from the void about 10 feet behind him. A hint of surprise flashed in its eyes, and a surge of qi and blood rolled in its body. The crystal between its eyebrows radiated a colorful spiritual light to its body. The silver flesh wings on its thighs flapped twice, and then it turned into a green wind and disappeared into the fog. It can still use the wind escape technique? Gu Deming's eyes narrowed. He had just used a secret technique to manifest the power of his will and true essence outside. Within this fog, anyone with a cultivation weaker than him simply wouldn't be able to use a teleportation technique. But this zombie could still use the wind escape technique, indicating that it had the power to resist true essence and will force. These thoughts flashed through Gu Deming's mind, and the one-legged zombie's huge body appeared in front of him. The row of bone spurs on its left arm were wrapped in a layer of golden light, and with a cold chill, they pierced towards the protective spiritual light outside his body. Although the enemy was close to him, Gu Deming did not panic. Spiritual light flashed in front of him, and a round wooden shield carved with patterns appeared. Under the injection of true essence, the Qing Yuan ruler exploded with a terrifying sword qi that seemed to tear through the void, and it blasted towards the zombie's chest. The one-legged zombie's eyes narrowed, and the power of Yin surged, and a golden pentagonal spiritual light shield appeared in front of its chest. At the same time, The bone spurs on its left arm suddenly released a cold light, and a layer of golden light on them directly separated, turning into several extremely cold bone arrows. They bypassed the zombie's wooden shield and blasted towards the protective spiritual light outside the zombie's body. Rumble. A cloud of chi mixed with a golden and green halo exploded in midair, and the sound of the explosion reverberated in the mountains. Layers of terrifying shockwaves rolled out in all directions. Two figures, one big and one small, shot out from the cloud. Both sides were wrapped in a golden and green halo, and countless terrifying yuan chi pressure constantly erupted between them. It was unknown whether it was the aftermath of the previous battle or some other reason, but a large amount of yin chi that had been squeezed out began to gather in the sky, and a thick gray cloud of yin chi gradually appeared in the sky. The pentagonal shield on the one-legged zombie's chest disappeared, and the scales on its body were covered in a layer of golden halo. The bone spurs on its left arm continuously blasted towards Gu Deming, and its right fist made of wax had turned into a pitch black hole. There was a constant suction force coming from inside. It was unknown what kind of magic it was, but it could even swallow half of the Tai green light in the Qin Yuan ruler. And the absorbed green light, for some reason, would circulate to the bone spurs on the zombie's left arm to counterattack. From the yin chi cloud in the sky, a gray and black pillar of yin chi would drop down from time to time, accurately landing on the one-legged zombie's body. This thick pillar of yin chi quickly replenished the yin chi that the zombie had lost. Gu Deming's expression was very serious, and he kept making hand seals. The Qin Yuan ruler and the wood spirit shield surrounded him, and from time to time, he would throw out a yuan chi sword. As the number of attacks increased, he had already sensed that there were 5 different kinds of auras in the huge corpse chi, which meant that this strange zombie was formed by the fusion of the 5 zombie kings using some kind of secret technique. After the fusion, the zombie's body had a golden energy that matched the true yuan. Although the zombie's consciousness did not have the power of will, it contained a special kind of aura that did not fear the will of a soul formation stage warrior. In addition, this zombie had also integrated the magic of the 5 zombie kings. The silver flesh wings on its legs could perform the wind escape technique, and with the help of the golden energy, its speed was amazing. Every time he wanted to fly out of the yin chi cloud's range, the zombie would use this teleportation magic to get close to him first. Its right arm had the rare metal attribute devouring power, and it could even devour part of the power of the yuan chi sword. Its left arm performed the power of ice, and its legs also contained some kind of special spirit flame in addition to the earth escape technique. The mutated magic of these silver-armored zombies, under the stimulation of the golden energy comparable to true yuan, was only slightly weaker than the yuan chi transformation technique. As time went by, the one-legged zombie's various magic spells and magic became more and more fluent, and its attacks were endless, as if several grand cultivators were continuously urging the imitation spiritual treasures to attack. Gu Deming relied on the refined yuan chi in his true yuan, and from time to time, he would use the yuan chi transformation technique to gain a slight advantage. This divine transformation cultivator's face was solemn, and he had long since stopped underestimating his opponent. With the help of the endless yin chi, the zombie seemed to be able to hold on for a long time, but the yuan chi in his true yuan was decreasing with each use. If the battle continued, he would probably have to use supreme-grade spirit stones to recover his true yuan. No wonder he could force the old man of the Prime Devil sect to retreat. Looks like I have no choice but to use the Chaos Origin Sword. Gu Deming once again used the yuan chi sword to force his opponent back. With a wave of his hand, a small gray sword appeared in his hand. Its surface was densely covered with mysterious runes, and it was surrounded by several green halos. The one-legged zombie in the distance seemed to feel a strong sense of danger after the appearance of this small sword. The multifaceted crystal between its brows shone brightly, and the yin chi in its body roiled. The golden light on its corpse chi scales became even more dazzling. Clang! The true yuan in Gu Deming's body surged. Just as he was about to activate the Supreme Mystery Sect treasure, a short sword hum flashed past, and the Chaos Origin sword floated up, its tip pointing towards the north. He was stunned at first, and then realized something. His face darkened, and his consciousness, which contained the power of will, spread towards the north. Who's there spying here? Chapter 1139. Hearing Gu Deming's words, the one-legged zombie was stunned. Then, anger flashed through its eyes. It sent out a powerful spiritual sense to the north. In his current state, his divine sense was no weaker than that of a soul formation cultivator. He could sense 200 kilometers away, but apart from some undead creatures and the deathly still rocks in the middle underworld mountain, there was no strange aura at all. After a while, Gut Deming retracted his spiritual sense. He sensed the one-legged zombie's actions and said, "Zombie kings, did you also sense someone spying on us?" The one-legged zombie hesitated. Then, Yiksha's voice came out of its mouth full of fangs. "We didn't sense anything strange. May I ask how, fellow Taoist, Gut discovered someone hiding nearby?" Gut Deming stretched out his hand. The origin sword was still pointing to the north, but it returned to its original state after a few swings. He said slowly, "This is my sect divine spiritual treasure, the origin sword. It has already gained sentience." The sword chime just now was because it sensed the aura of a divine spiritual treasure, so it gave out a warning. Yiksha's surprised voice came. "Fellow Taoist Gu, do you mean that this hidden person also has a divine spiritual treasure? He wants to launch a sneak attack while we're fighting?" Gu Deming looked at the Chaos Origin sword in his hand that was no longer moving. His eyes narrowed as he said, "Before this Gu came, I suspected that a third force had joined forces with the middle underworld mountain. Now, seeing your expression, it seems that you also have doubts." The Thunder Yiksha said, "I once thought that there were other forces helping Silver Wing, but after seeing the Primordial Gourd, most of my doubts were dispelled. Now that I think about it, a big force with a divine spiritual treasure might not care about a replica." Although he didn't mention names, both sides knew that other than the Xian sect, only the top 3 sects of the Great Zhou dynasty had such power. Gu Deming waved his hand, and the primal chaos sword disappeared from his hand. The pressure in the air dissipated and the tense atmosphere dissipated. His tone was calm as he said, "Corpse King, please tell me what you know about MT Crimson. If it was instigated by a third party, it will only benefit them if we fight." When the one-legged zombie heard this, his expression relaxed. However, he didn't intend to withdraw the secret fusion technique. Instead, he raised his guard. Then, the silver-winged night fiend spoke. "Not long ago, this king passed by the Yin province." Gut Deming's brows gradually furrowed as he listened to the other party's account. Anger flashed in his eyes as he took a deep breath. "You're guessing that Bloodthirsty will took over the silver-winged night fiend's body and joined forces with a wild level 9 silver-armored corpse to kill Martial Nephew Qingyang?" "That's right." Gu Deming's face darkened. "But apart from Martial Nephew Qingyang, all the other nascent soul stage elders of our sect on Mount Crimson, including several rogue nascent soul stage cultivators, were all killed by you?" The silver-winged night fiend was stunned. "The other nascent soul cultivators died as well? I remember that only one of them was killed by a level 9 silver-armored corpse. When he regained consciousness, he only had Xingyang's storage bracelet in his hand." He abruptly stopped here and switched to the thunderclap night fiend's voice. "Fellow Taoist Gu, Silverwing was struck by the Origin Gourd's origin sword. Even with a level 9 silver-armored corpse, it was impossible to kill all the other nascent soul cultivators. It seems that the Supreme Profound Sect's elder was killed by the master behind the silver-armored corpse. If we continue fighting, I'm afraid we'll just be following their wishes." Gu Deming looked at the 3-meter-tall zombie. The powerful energy within showed no signs of weakening. After a moment of silence, he calmly said, "Let's drop this matter for now. However, Martial Nephew Qingyang's storage bracelet must be returned to me." The one-legged zombie nodded. There was a flash of light in front of him, and the 2 storage bracelets floated forward. Gu Deming took the bracelets and looked around. In addition to the origin gourd, there were also 2 supreme-grade spirit stones. His expression eased a bit. From what you said, Martial Nephew Qingyang's nascent soul is still here. The one-legged zombie hesitated for a moment before opening its mouth and throwing out a jade bottle containing a dim and broken nascent soul. When Gu Deming saw his martial nephew's nascent soul, he became even angrier. However, when he thought of the origin sword's warning, he suppressed his anger. Regardless of whether or not the Corpse King of Zhongming Mountain was working with other forces, he couldn't continue fighting in this environment without any spiritual qi. A cultivator who could evade his divine sense and had a divine spirit treasure was obviously at the divine transformation realm. His cultivation was even more profound. If he used too much of his true essence, he would be in danger. The face of the Grand Elder of the Qingyun sect flashed in Gu Deming's mind, and his expression darkened. He put away the storage bracelet and jade bottle and said coldly, "I will investigate this matter. If it really has nothing to do with you, then so be it. However, if the Zhongming Mountain is involved, the Xian sect won't let it go so easily." With that, he looked toward the north. A burst of green light rose from his body and turned into a streak of light, shooting toward the southwest. The one-legged zombie floated in the air and looked at Gu Deming's departing figure. Several consciousnesses in its body were communicating rapidly. The first supreme-grade spirit stone is almost used up. If this goes on, I'll have to use the second one. Jaleh, he should be gone. I don't have enough heart's blood. I can't hold on much longer. Me too. The 3-meter-tall zombie slowly flew toward the Corpse King Valley. Jaleh's consciousness sounded in his body. I'll give you some of my heart's blood. Hold on a little longer. The Zhongming Mountain might be hiding another soul formation cultivator, but this person's target should be Gu Deming. Qingyang Daoist storage bracelet has been given out. As long as we don't show any signs of weakness, this guy won't make a move easily. Okay, got it. Then, the huge zombie disappeared into the cold air of the Corpse King Valley. North of the Corpse King Valley, on a small mountain more than 100 miles away, there were a lot of scattered rocks. These rocks were all gray and black because of the cold air all year round. On the surface of one of the rocks, some stone powder slowly drifted outwards under the wind, revealing 2 holes that were even smaller than a finger. An almost imperceptible golden light flashed through the holes. Lu Kuan's body was hidden in this rock, his eyes looking in the direction of the Corpse King Valley through 2 small holes. After catching sight of a wisp of cyan escaping light on the horizon, he let out a sigh of relief. Not long ago, when he sensed the terrifying aura of the soul formation stage, he went to the tallest hill nearby and crushed the rocks. Using the power of the void, he combined the rock powder and his body into a rock, leaving only a small hole to secretly observe the battlefield in the distance. That small gray sword should be the origin sword of the Xian sect. It's really powerful. It sensed me as soon as I activated the bone treasure. Lu Kuan's golden, I had expanded a lot after activating the attack ability last time. He could clearly see the scene 100 miles away. He was amazed by the 5 Corpse Kings' secret fusion technique. He also recognized the multifaceted crystal between their eyebrows. It was the sacred item of the Netherworld insect tribe. He didn't expect these top-level, silver-armored corpses to have the means to use the treasure of an alien tribe and unleash a terrifying power comparable to a soul formation cultivator. As the battle progressed, he had a better understanding of the combat power of Gu Deming, a soul formation cultivator. First of all, although this person's speed was much faster than that of a great cultivator, it was still much slower than him. If he encountered this person, even if he couldn't defeat him, he still had the ability to escape. Then there was his combat power. Gu Deming didn't use the Yuan Qi manifestation ability for every attack. It seemed that in such an environment, the Yuan Qi manifestation consumed a lot of true essence. As for this person's other spells and the sword Qi from his natal magic treasure, their power was equivalent to that of a top-level great cultivator using a spirit treasure replica. With Lu Kuan's current physical defense ability, he could take at least 20 attacks head-on. Moreover, with his explosive speed, as long as he wasn't too close, it wouldn't be difficult for him to dodge. After understanding Gu Deming's strength, Lu Kuan's heart was a little restless. He had found a solution to the hidden danger in his internal organs. If he disregarded everything and activated the power of 1 yuan, the terrifying power of 2 million jin would be able to seriously injure him. He was itching to use the bone treasure, but who knew that he would be sensed by the other party's divine spirit treasure? If he hadn't restrained his aura in time, he would have been discovered. With the divine spirit treasure in hand, even in this area without Yuan Qi, it's difficult to sneak attack the Soul Formation Cultivator. Lu Kuan looked in the direction of the Corpse King Valley. The joint attack of these Corpse Kings is quite interesting. It seems to consume a lot of blood qi. The body of the silver-armored corpse can't produce blood essence on its own. This loss can only be made up by absorbing a large amount of blood essence of cultivators. This ability should be difficult to use in a short time. This is a chance. Lu Kuan specialized in physical cultivation and had a top-level silver-armored corpse like Serene as his subordinate. Just by observing, he could determine the weakness of the Corpse King's combined attack. To prevent Gu Deming from coming back, I'll come out later. Chapter 1140. In the depths of Corpse King Valley, the one-legged zombie lay flat on the ground. Cold Inchi poured in from all directions and entered its body covered in silver scales. Several consciousnesses were communicating inside. Thunder, it's been a day and a night. You don't have much blood left. There's no spirit chi in Zhoming Mountain. Cultivators can't stay here for too long. All right, let's cancel the spell. Following the exchange of consciousnesses, a trace of golden light lit up in the zombie's belly. Along with the 5-colored luster, it gradually separated into 5 silver spots. One stayed in the distance, while the other 4 rushed to its arms and legs. The multifaceted crystal on top of the purple-faced fanged head seemed to lose its support and fell into its mouth. Then, the silver scales on the one-legged zombie's body transformed into a faint silver corpse chi. The zombie's 2 arms and 1 leg gradually separated from its torso as the corpse chi surged. The wax fist with the black holes twisted in a certain direction. The wax on it wriggled and turned into a terrifying face with 3 black holes. The corpse aura condensed into scales again, and the spirit-devouring Yiksha's body appeared. The left arm with a row of bone spikes was the curled-up body of the Icebone Yiksha. As for the thick leg, it was formed by the silver-winged Yiksha and Earth Yiksha. The 4 Corpse Kings separated from their torsos. The remaining torso and head were Thunder Yiksha's body. The muscles on its torso withered, and its 4 limbs extended from the side. Thunder Yiksha stood up and felt the weak chi and blood in his body. He sighed. Silver-winged, your blood isn't enough. Otherwise, the combination could last longer. However, after using this secret technique, the blood essence of the previous Corpse King will be able to fuse with your bodies even faster. Earth Wutu, go arrange for the silver-armored corpses of Zhoming Mountain and capture some core formation cultivators from the smaller factions. It'd be best if there are rogue nascent soul cultivators. We urgently need their blood essence. Who is it? At this point, Thunder Yiksha's expression suddenly changed, and he looked outside Corpse King Valley. A deep male voice came from the cold clouds in the distance. Thunder Yiksha is indeed the leader of the 5 zombie kings. He easily sensed Lu's existence. The rest of the Corpse Kings' complexions changed greatly. Although they didn't release their divine sense, if a cultivator entered the Corpse King Valley, it was impossible for them not to sense it. It could be seen that this person's divine sense was amazing. Dozens of feet away, 2 figures gradually emerged from their concealment. One of them was a middle-aged man with a burly figure, dressed in gray, and the other was a beautiful woman. The 2 of them did not emit any aura, just like mortals. The moment the Corpse Kings saw this man, they suddenly felt a chill down their spines. The green hair on their bodies all stood up. This kind of feeling was also felt by Gu Deming, but this time it was even more obvious. It seemed that this man's divine ability had a certain restraint on them. On the other hand, the Night Fiend took a few more glances at the beautiful woman. For some reason, he sensed a somewhat familiar aura from her. Thunder Yiksha stared fixedly at the burly man. In addition to the sense of threat, his peak 10th rank silver-armored corpse body also produced an extreme desire. In addition to some kind of divine sense that suppressed them, this man also seemed to have a treasure that was very useful to silver-armored corpses. However, this feeling was only fleeting. If it wasn't for his pure consciousness, he wouldn't have noticed. Thunder Yiksha's expression darkened as he looked at the man and woman who were still slowly walking forward. Cold energy surged in his body, and two thick bolts of dark purple lightning shot out from the bone spurs on his shoulders. They contained an astonishing amount of cold energy and a destructive aura. They rushed out like two lightning dragons bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws. When the burly man saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up. The air around his body twisted as if some kind of invisible spell was surging. The two lightning dragons were attracted by something and landed directly in front of his chest. A ball of lightning liquid wrapped around him. Although these two bolts of lightning didn't absorb the world's yuan qi, they were still a mutated spell of peak silver-armored corpses. However, in the face of such powerful lightning power, the burly man didn't use any defensive means. He allowed the lightning to flash on his body as he walked forward leisurely. Crackle, dark purple lightning flashed on his body, but it couldn't even break through his exposed skin. It only looked a little black. Not long after, the power of the two lightning bolts was exhausted on the surface of the burly man's body and dissipated into nothingness. The 5 corpse kings were all stunned. The 5th Earth Yiksha, the one with the strongest defense, rubbed his eyes as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. If he had taken the attack with his physical body instead of the cold force, his corpse chi armor would have been damaged. However, this human cultivator who looked like a mortal was actually unscathed. Hurry up and use the fusion secret technique. Thunder Yiksha knew the power of his attack the best. He couldn't help but feel horrified. He hurriedly used his divine sense to send out a message. The other corpse kings shuddered. The corpse chi in their body surged, and their bodies moved closer to him. You still have the strength to use the fusion secret technique, the burly man exclaimed softly. His body moved, and with a few ear-piercing sonic booms, he disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, Thunder Yiksha's pupils suddenly shrank. He only had time to cross his arms in front of his body. Dark purple lightning flashed on them. Then, he felt a terrifying force surging toward him. Bang! With a loud crash, the tall body of the Thunder Yiksha was sent flying without any resistance. Then, several silver phantoms of fists and feet flashed in the air. The other 4 corpse kings followed closely behind. They were hit by a terrifying force, and their zombie bodies were sent flying more than 30 meters away. The violent force squeezed the air, causing a turbulent flow of air pressure to overflow, stirring up gusts of grayish-black cold wind. The burly man stood quietly among the corpse kings. He shook his head and said, "You don't have to fight. Lu didn't come here with any evil intentions." Thunder Yiksha stood up. Several pieces of corpse chi armor on his arm shattered. He looked at the burly man. There were a few scratches on the man's arm, but they were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The other corpse kings climbed up from the ground one by one. Deep fear flashed in their eyes. This human man had such a terrifying body. The man had attacked the Thunder Yikshas first. Relying on their battle instincts, they counterattacked at the first moment. However, the flesh that their sharp claws touched seemed to be even harder than magical equipment. It was difficult for them to even scratch the skin, let alone hurt the man. Thunder Yiksha took a deep breath and said, "May I ask who you are? What business do you have in Corpse King Valley?" The burly man stood with his hands behind his back and said slowly, "I'm Lu Kuan, the owner of the Body Refining Pavilion. I come from the southwest cultivation world. I came to Zhongming Mountain to make a deal with you." After the several corpse kings heard this, their stiff faces revealed astonishment. The southwest cultivation world seemed to be in a very distant place. Body refining pavilion? Could be a sect that cultivates the body? When did the cultivation world have such a cultivation method? But looking at this man's body, they had to believe it. Although they only exchanged one move, the 5 corpse kings could clearly feel the horror of this man's body. Whether it was defense, strength, or speed, he was stronger than the 10th level silver armored corpse. Generally speaking, the corpse kings were not afraid of any cultivators below the soul formation realm in Zhongming Mountain. Cultivators in the late nascent soul realm couldn't absorb the vitality here at all, and their attack power was greatly reduced. In addition to the strong cold power, they also had the physical strength of millions of pounds. But this man named Lu Kuan in front of them didn't use the vitality of heaven and earth. He completely suppressed them with his physical strength alone. They were no match for him at all unless they used the secret combination technique. And with his unpredictable speed, they didn't have enough time to use this ability. Chapter 1141. Thunderclap Yiksha also found it hard to believe. He was the one with the longest consciousness among the zombie kings and had seen a lot of things. He had never heard of any cultivation method that specialized in cultivating the body. However, he had a vague feeling that although this person's body was terrifying, he hadn't reached the deity transformation stage. Even so, he was able to suppress the zombie kings. He could imagine how extraordinary this cultivation method was. After a moment of silence, he suppressed the shock in his heart and said in a deep voice, "So it's Master Lu. We zombie kings have been living in the underworld mountain for a long time. We didn't know that a body refiner had appeared in the cultivation world. Let's not talk about other things for now. This king wants to ask Master Lu if it was you who was spying on our battle with Gu Deming." Lu Kuan smiled. Before he could answer, the silver-winged Yiksha suddenly pointed at Serene behind him and said in a daze, "You're that silver-armored corpse. Why does a silver-armored corpse's body look like this?" Since the beginning of the battle, the silver-winged Yiksha had been paying attention to Serene. Now he finally remembered why her aura was so familiar. It was the 9th grade silver-armored corpse he had encountered in MT Crimson. What? This is a silver-armored corpse? There seems to be a cold aura in her body. But that's impossible. How can a silver-armored corpse's body be so active? The zombie kings and even Thunderclap Yiksha were attracted by Serene and forgot to ask Lu Kuan the question. Thunderclap Yiksha's eyes bloomed with incomparable surprise as he couldn't help but carefully censor. Serene looked at the 5 zombies with some disdain. Corpse chi poured into her face, and a mouthful of silver fangs grew. She let out an unhappy roar. Hiss! Sensing that dense corpse aura, the corpse kings sucked in a breath of cold air. This seemingly delicate human girl was actually a silver-armored corpse. Why was her body exactly the same as a human's? Why was her control of corpse chi so exquisite that she could hide her silver-armored corpse's aura so deeply that the zombie kings couldn't distinguish it? How did she cultivate? Were her dantian and meridians the same as a human's? A series of questions popped up in the zombie kings' minds. If not for Lu Kuan standing on the side, they would have charged over. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with surprise. I didn't expect the silver-winged Yiksha's senses to be so sharp. Yes, Ener and Lu were at MT Crimson. Thunder Yiksha suppressed his curiosity and said in a low voice, "In that case, Pavilion Master Lu blamed Zhongming Mountain for the death of the Xian sex elder." Lu. Zarii Yiksha snorted and said, "Did Master Lu give Taoist Qingyang's storage bracelet and the chaos gourd in it?" Lu Kuan said calmly, "That's right. Lu wants to use the spirit treasure replica as a reward to test Gu Deming's strength. Besides, if it weren't for Lu hiding at the side, That old guy wouldn't have let you go so easily. Zhao Yiksha was silent for a while before he said, "We were forced to fight Gu Deming and suffered a great loss. Although we have returned the imitation spiritual treasure and the top-level spiritual stone to Gu Deming, Master Lu saved Silverwing's life. We can call it even. However, isn't Master Lu afraid that we will leak this information out?" As he said this, the other corpse kings became nervous. They looked away from Shi Ener and stared at Lu Kuan with vigilance. Lu Kuan said coldly, "It's not just those guys from MT Crimson. Peng Yuanhua and 3 other nascent soul cultivators from the Xian sect also died at Lu's hands. If it weren't for Gu Deming's divine spirit treasure, Lu might have seriously injured him." His eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Even if you didn't leak this information, Lu would have made it public sooner or later. The Xian sect cultivators dared to covet Lu's body refining technique. I want all the cultivators of the Great Zhou dynasty to know that even if they have soul formation cultivators, they will have to pay a heavy price for provoking the body refining pavilion. 2 great cultivators and 8 nascent soul cultivators are not enough. The corpse kings felt a chill in their hearts when they heard Lu Kuan's tone. "You came to kill so many nascent soul elders of a Xian sect and even wanted to seriously injure their soul formation cultivators just because you coveted their cultivation technique?" The body refining pavilion was too overbearing. Zhao Yiksha agreed with Lu Kuan's approach. He was very clear about the morality of the Great Zhou dynasty's cultivators. Back then, senior metal elite zombie from Zhongming Mountain was not restricted by the region and could control all kinds of yuan qi of heaven and earth. Several soul formation cultivators joined forces to kill him, hoping to find out the secret of yuan qi control. If the cultivators of the top sects of the Great Zhou dynasty knew about this cultivation technique that could make the body stronger than a level 10 silver elite zombie, they would be even crazier than metal elite zombie. This Master Lu obviously wanted to destroy half of the Xian sect by himself. Only by displaying great strength could he deter others. The body refining pavilion was located in the southwest cultivation world. Even if the other top sects of the Great Zhou dynasty coveted this cultivation technique, they would not dare to act rashly in the face of such a vengeful and reckless madman like Master Lu. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Zhao Yiksha slowly said, "I see. We can keep a secret for now, but I hope that Master Lu will not bring the news to Zhongming Mountain in the future." Lu Kuan was a little surprised when he heard this. Looking at the Corpse King's expression, he did not seem to be lying. He could not help but have a good impression of this Corpse King. He nodded and said, "Of course." Zhao Yiksha breathed a sigh of relief and said, "May I know what kind of deal Master Lu wants to make with us?" Lu Kuan looked at the Corpse Kings and said slowly, "I wonder if you would like to know how Eve retracted her corpse aura and cultivated her body to be no different from humans." Hearing this, the Corpse Kings became excited. Zhao Yiksha was still calm. He asked in a deep voice, "Master Lu wants to use this secret technique to exchange for something with us?" Lu Kuan chuckled. Spirit light flashed in his hand, and a jade bottle appeared. There was some kind of silver liquid inside, and an astonishing power of blood qi emanated from it. He said, "It's not a secret technique. It's just that silver has refined a lot of blood essence." "Blood essence?" Lu Kuan said seriously, "We body cultivators specialize in refining our bodies. Our blood essence is powerful. This blood essence is refined with a secret technique that takes a lot of time. We can only refine 1 drop every 10 years. Een absorbed Lu's blood essence through the corpse core. Her blood gradually filled her body. Her meridians and dantian are very similar to a cultivator's. Her cultivation efficiency is amazing. What Lu took out to trade with you is this blood essence." The Thunder Yiksha stared fixedly at the jade bottle in front of Lu Kuan. The ocean-like blood qi inside was the treasure he had sensed earlier. The other Corpse Kings also revealed looks of desire. The bloodthirst in their bodies was even somewhat restless. Lu Kuan opened the bottle and waved his hand. A drop of silver blood flew directly to Zhao Yiksha. "Why don't you feel the effect and then we'll talk about the deal. The Thunder Yiksha held the silver drop of blood in his hand and swallowed it after sensing the pure qi and blood within. Soon his body was filled with qi and blood. In just a moment, the blood essence that he had lost was replenished by more than half. Moreover, through the transformation of the corpse core, a special power was slowly nourishing his zombie body. Zhao Lei Yiksha's eyes flashed with surprise. We'll take all of this blood essence. What does Master Lu want in exchange? Lu Kuan smiled, showing his white teeth. No rush. Let's talk slowly. Colon. Chapter 1142. The Yuan State, Jilu Mountain Range. This mountain range was one of the resource points of the Xian sect. Apart from having a giant spirit stone mine, its unique soil environment was suitable for growing dragon beard grass. The dragon beard grass was 1,000 years old and was one of the main materials used to assist in forming a core. It was very precious. Naturally, many Xian sect disciples were stationed at such an important resource point. Apart from the forbidden formation, there were also nascent soul cultivators. Plus, it was within the Xian sect's territory and no one dared to do anything to it. But now, the Jilu mountain range was silent. The spiritual light of the restrictions was very dim. In the center of the mountain, there was a restriction hole dozens of feet wide. Cracks spread out from the hole in all directions. But the nodes of the formation were still intact and barely maintained the operation of the restriction. Below the hole was the mountain where the core of the formation was. But now, not to mention the core of the array formation, even a small half of this several thousand feet tall mountain peak had collapsed, leaving behind only a broken mountain. The rocks and soil on it were incomparably black, as if they had been burned by something blazing. Below the half-collapsed mountain was an arc-shaped hole hundreds of feet wide. The original dragon beer grass garden was no longer recognizable. There were gray rocks and dust everywhere. Occasionally, there were a few broken blue roots in the broken soil. Around the hole were broken medicine fields. Only the medicine fields, 3,000 to 4,000 feet away, were still intact. 5 nascent soul elders of the Xian sect flew around with serious expressions. They used all kinds of secret techniques to search for traces left behind. In the 100-foot-wide hole stood a white-haired middle-aged man. His spiritual power was very strong, and he emitted late-stage nascent soul fluctuations. He was the grand elder of the Xian sect, Emo Honkai. A green gourd floated in front of him. He walked around the hole. Wisps of white light constantly surged out of the broken rocks and soil on the ground and entered the gourd. After a while, the other 4 elders of the Xian sect gathered. Grand Elder, we didn't find any remains of a meteorite. There's also no aura of a cultivator spell. The broken mountain and ground were caused by a heavy object that fell. The impact was very strong and much faster than the magic treasures of a grand cultivator. I've detected the remnants of Junior Brother Zhu's Dharma power, but there's no aura of a Dharma treasure. It seems that he died before he even used his Dharma treasure. Emo Honkai listened to the conversations of the people around him with a heavy expression. He did not speak, but looked at the primordial gourd in his hand. He threw it with one hand, and the spirit treasure replica floated above everyone's heads. Then, he formed a series of mysterious hand seals with both hands. The chaos gourd's mouth gradually gushed out a thought of nourishing all things, and wisps of green spiritual light gushed out from it. They intertwined with each other and formed an oval shape before falling down diagonally. As their speed increased, the spiritual light on their surface also became more and more dazzling. When this thing was close to the ground, all of the spirit light gathered at the front, forming a dazzling light. A burst of dust rose from the ground, and the oval spirit light dissipated. Great Elder, what is this? The rest of the original infant stage elders were puzzled. Emo Honkai continued to look at the gourd in his hand. Seeing that there were no further illusions in it, his expression became a little ugly. He took a deep breath and said, "Not long ago, Uncle Master re-inspected the territory of the Xian sect and strengthened the will of endless vitality. As long as there is chi of heaven and earth in the area, he can use the power of the primordial spirit in his true essence to restore the scene. What was shown just now was the change in the surrounding chi of heaven and earth when the meteorite fell. When the others heard this, they associated it with the changes in the spiritual light just now, and their expressions suddenly became serious. A meteorite falling from the outer domain can't attract chi of heaven and earth. As this thing fell faster and faster, it absorbed more and more chi of heaven and earth. In the end, it even condensed into a point. Obviously, someone is controlling it behind the scenes. If it's a spell with such terrifying power, it's impossible for there to be no aura left. It could be a top magic treasure. Could it be a late nascent soul stage cultivator? Now that Uncle Master has entered the soul formation realm, who dares to provoke our Xian sect? And Mo Honkai listened to everyone's words and slowly said, "Not only that, but through the spell taught by Uncle Master, we can roughly judge the power of the meteorite. The chi of heaven and earth absorbed by the meteorite is almost 4 to 5 times more than that of an ordinary grand cultivator." He said in a deep voice, "It should be a grand cultivator level expert who used a spirit treasure replica to display its power. The Grand Elder is paying attention to the situation in the territory. It's best that we don't go out alone in case of any accidents." Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but become serious. The strength of a grand cultivator was far beyond the mid and late nascent soul realm. Coupled with a spirit treasure replica, their strength was even more terrifying. One of them couldn't help but say, "So, Elder Zhu was killed by this strange grand cultivator?" And Mo Honkai was silent for a moment and said, "In the demonstration just now, I didn't find any other changes in the chi of heaven and earth." In other words, the other party killed Elder Zhu without using any methods that added chi of heaven and earth. When the others heard this, they were all shocked. Elder Zhu didn't even have time to use a spirit treasure. With such a shocking attack speed, how could there be no support from the chi of heaven and earth? Could it be that the other party is proficient in top-notch illusion techniques? With the immense divine sense of a grand cultivator, it might be possible to confuse Elder Zhu. Maybe the enemy has helpers. Hearing everyone's words, Mo Honkai slowly said, "No matter what, before Uncle Master finds out the enemy, we have to act cautiously. Next, the major resource points will be temporarily guarded by the core formation realm disciples. We will go one by one and set up the formation plate modified by Uncle Master to strengthen the defenses of the resource points." Yes, Grand Elder. The nascent soul realm elders couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Their strength was similar to the dead Elder Zhu. If they were ambushed by a hidden enemy, they would most likely be in trouble. Mo Honkai summoned a flying boat and led everyone onto it. Although he looked calm, he was more uneasy than anyone else. These elders didn't know that other than Elder Zhu, Taoist Qingyang, and Peng Yuanhua, the 2 grand cultivators of the Xian sect, as well as the other 8 nascent soul realm elders, had all died. The combat power of the Xian sect had decreased by more than a third. Not long ago, Gu Deming left the sect to track down the culprit who killed Taoist Qingyang. Although he had retrieved the Chaos Gourd, he saw that Uncle Master's face was still heavy, as if the enemy hadn't been dealt with. And Mo Honkai had a feeling that the person who destroyed this resource point was the one who killed Taoist Qingyang. Perhaps it was a soul formation realm cultivator. In the Great Zhou dynasty, no grand cultivator dared to provoke a soul formation realm cultivator except for the old bald donkey from the Huatian Temple. The Huatian Temple had always valued peace and wouldn't initiate a war. Junior brother Peng and the others died in the southwest cultivation world. Could it be that the powerful cultivator from the body refining pavilion? Although we are after the body refining technique, we are the ones who are at a disadvantage. The body refining pavilion doesn't have to take the risk to kill us. A few thoughts flashed through Mo Honkai's mind. He steered the spirit boat and flew everyone to the resource point nearby. Mo Honkai didn't notice that a handsome man was following them on top of the spirit boat. This man seemed to have merged with the spirit chi around him, and there was no fluctuation of energy. It was the Grand Elder of the Xian sect, Gu Deming, who was a soul formation realm cultivator. After he returned from the Zhoming Mountain, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that it couldn't be the Blue Cloud sect. Half a year ago, he went to the Broken Kingdom and met with the soul formation realm cultivators. Although Gu Deming was secretly hindered by the old man from the Blue Cloud sect when he tried to break through for the first time hundreds of years ago, and there was a grudge between them, he had already entered the soul formation realm. If the other party continued to secretly target the Xian sect, the gains would not make up for the losses. Moreover, the ancient battlefield in the Broken Kingdom 100 years later would require the cooperation of the soul formation realm cultivators. Even if the other soul formation realm cultivators wanted to suppress the Xian sect, they would have to wait until the Broken Kingdom was over. Then where did this enemy, who seemed to have a divine spirit treasure, come from? As for the body refining pavilion, he didn't even consider it. When Gu Mingda broke through to the soul formation realm, when his primordial spirit connected with heaven and earth, he sensed that the vitality in the southwest cultivation world was pure, and there were no soul formation realm cultivators. No matter how strong the body refining pavilion was, it only had 2 or 3 nascent soul realm cultivators. How would they dare to cross over to the Xian sect, which had a soul formation realm cultivator? Looking at the group of nascent soul realm cultivators flying below, Gu Deming frowned. He secretly followed Mo Honkai because he felt that this hidden enemy would take advantage of the time when the Xian sect elders came to check for traces to launch a sneak attack. Strange. This person first killed our elders and then destroyed the resource point. His goal is to weaken the strength of our sect. He won't let go of this opportunity. At this moment, Gu Deming suddenly looked up and looked to the east. Through the power of will in his vitality, he sensed a large amount of vitality gathering. It's the fluctuation of the falling meteorite again. The soul summoning bird is patrolling nearby. It should be able to hold the enemy for a while. Gu Deming's hidden figure flashed and disappeared. The Xian sect elders below didn't notice anything strange. Chapter 1143. In the eastern region of the Xian sect, outside of the Thousand Thorn Valley, a dozen Xian sect disciples stood on a flying boat with frightened expressions. In their field of vision, the forbidden formation of the Thousand Thorn Valley was shaking violently. In the center of the formation, a hole dozens of meters wide appeared. Endless rumbling sounds echoed from within, as if there was a primordial beast inside. The entire valley was shaking violently. Dust billowed out from the hole. Even though they were far away from the valley, they could still feel the turbulent air currents. Standing at the front of the flying boat was a man and woman. The woman looked very young and beautiful. She emitted early core formation stage spiritual power fluctuations. The other was a middle-aged man with long hair. His aura was thick, and he was late core formation stage. The young woman murmured, "Is this a meteorite from outer space? Its destructive power is too terrifying. If not for senior brother's decisiveness and bringing us away in time, staying here would have been disastrous." The middle-aged man looked at the rumbling valley in the distance and was silent for a while. It wasn't decisiveness. Yesterday, I received a message from a good friend in the sect. He said that the Jilu mountain range was hit by a meteorite the day before yesterday. The forbidden formation was destroyed, and the disciples inside suffered heavy casualties. Even the nascent soul stage elder overseeing it was heavily injured. It was very strange. So when I saw the meteorite, I connected the two together. If the Jilu mountain range's forbidden formation couldn't resist, then there was no need to mention the Thousand Thorn Valley. Without a nascent soul stage elder overseeing it, the forbidden formation's power couldn't be fully unleashed. Escaping was the best choice. When the low-level disciples heard the man's words, they all revealed expressions of relief. The young woman said gratefully, "Thank you, senior brother, for saving my life. Junior sister owes senior brother a favor." "It's nothing. He waved his hand and looked at Thousand Thorn Valley with an inexplicable expression. But this meteorite is a little strange. I've read some strange stories, and the meteorites described in them don't have such great power. And the meteorite fell at our sect's resource point. This is too strange. The young woman heard this and felt something was wrong. Her face was pale. Senior brother, you mean the meteorite is... Chirp. Just as the middle-aged man was about to speak, a sharp cry came from afar. The two core formation cultivators couldn't help but cover their ears. This cry seemed to be able to penetrate their souls. The Foundation establishment cultivators behind them immediately fainted. Fortunately, this cry only caused damage to the soul for an instant. Although the sound that followed was ear-piercing, it didn't cause the soul to burn. The core formation couple couldn't help but look towards the source of the sound. In the distant horizon, a yellow shadow appeared. Its speed was incomparably shocking, and its body continued to grow. As he approached, the late-stage core formation cultivator was barely able to see his appearance. This was a demonic bird with yellow fur all over its body. Its body had changed to the size of an eagle, and a layer of red flames burned on its wings. Its body was covered in a layer of green halo, and a spiral sound wave was continuously gushing out from its sharp beak. This sound wave rushed towards Thousand Thorn Valley with terrifying speed. The surrounding spiritual chi seemed to be affected by something. The faint green light was sucked into it, forming a spiral of green light that accurately shot into the hole in the restriction. This large yellow bird followed closely behind and rushed in. The core formation cultivator saw the demonic beast's appearance and combined it with the cry just now. He muttered, "Soul-taming bird. This is our sect's sacred beast, the soul-taming bird. I didn't think I would be able to see it with my own eyes." The woman beside him rubbed her ears. When she heard the man's words, she blankly said, "That's the ancient demonic beast of Qingyuan Valley?" The core formation cultivator looked at Thousand Thorn Valley with an excited expression. "That's right. I heard from my master that this sacred beast is a type of ancient fire-type beast. It feeds on wood-type spiritual objects and has a powerful bloodline. It doesn't need to take human form like other demonic beasts. It also has some innate ability that targets the soul." The core formation woman hesitated. The sacred beast's cry, just now, seemed to be abnormally angry. It even attacked Thousand Thorn Valley. Could there be enemies inside? The core formation man stared blankly for a moment before saying, "A meteorite fell into the Thousand Thorns Valley and no one went in." "Right. I heard Master say that the Thousand Thorns Valley's soul thorn spirit grass is one of the Saint Beast's food." Roar. At that moment, a deafening roar came from the valley in the distance. It was as if an ancient beast was roaring at the sky. The remnant restrictions on Thousand Thorn Valley flickered violently, and the barely maintained formation soon shattered into specks of light. Soon after, two figures, one yellow and one silver, soared into the sky from the valley. Waves of terrifying spiritual pressure surged in all directions with them as the center. There really are people. Not good. This battle's fluctuations are too terrifying. We can't resist it. Let's get away. The man on the flying boat reacted and hurriedly called out to the woman. The two of them poured their magic power into the spirit boat without any regard for their lives. They hurriedly fled before the shock waves could reach them. In the sky above Thousand Thorn Valley, Lu Kuan was fighting with a large yellow bird with an astonished expression. His hands flickered with a layer of silver luster. Sometimes they formed fists, sometimes they formed palms, and sometimes they formed claws. One after another, silver streaks of attacks rained down on the large bird's body. However, every feather on the bird's body flickered with a faint blue halo. There was also an endless flow of energy. Lu Kuan's terrifying strength of over 1 million gene was weakened by this layer of defense, and it was almost impossible for him to penetrate it. Even combat skills like the vibrating origin palm and whirlpool finger were ineffective. This large bird also knew some kind of fire escape technique. With the help of the surrounding Yuan Qi, it stuck close to Lu Kuan. Could this demon bird be the ancient demon beast reared by the supreme profound sect, the soul-assimilating bird? Damn it, the Dark Spirit Pavilion's intelligence didn't say this demon beast was so powerful. A moment ago, he had been plundering resources in Thousand Thorn Valley when he was suddenly struck by a soul sound wave. Although it didn't cause him any harm, it still dazed him for a moment. Then, he saw a yellow bird the size of an eagle pounce at him. Lu Kuan's fighting style was that he was eager to engage in close combat with his enemy. However, this soul-assimilating bird was completely different from other demon beasts. Not only did it possess Gu Deming's willpower, but could also control this true intent. Some willpower emerged from the surrounding Yuan Qi and resonated with it. The Yuan Qi defense on the feathers was even close to the level of Yuan Qi manifestation. Lu Kuan's attack speed was much faster than the soul-assimilating birds, but his 1,200,000 gene of physical origin power couldn't absorb the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth under the interference of this willpower. Even if he used the severing fist, he could barely condense a bit of it. He couldn't break through the Yuan Qi defense at all. This feeling was like when he tried to absorb the Thousand Tide Formation's restriction light in the sky of Shiyuan State. It was incomparably sullen. The soul-assimilating bird's willpower and the Yuan Qi it drew were mainly used for defense. Although its attack power was only at the level of an ordinary great cultivator, it also carried a wave of energy that directly attacked the soul. In addition, it had the fire escape technique. Not to mention great cultivators, even soul formation cultivators would have a headache if they were entangled by this soul-assimilating bird in the territory of the Supreme Profound Sect. When Lu Kuan found that he couldn't kill this ancient demon beast in a short time, he used the water of the true demon to use the heavenly roar to shake it off. Unexpectedly, the heavenly roar, which could control the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, was greatly weakened under the suppression of the other party's endless vitality will. It couldn't even break through the other party's Yuan Qi shield. Sonic booms constantly sounded in the sky. Two figures, one yellow and one silver, flickered constantly, as if they were using the instant transmission technique. Not long after, Lu Kuan's physical nerves suddenly felt a trace of coldness. In his perception, the surrounding Yuan Qi of heaven and earth also became active. His expression couldn't help but change. Not good. Gu Deming is here, Chapter 1144. This guy didn't reveal himself, so he must be hiding himself. He might appear at any time. A golden light flashed across Lu Kuan's eyes. He didn't dare to be careless in the face of a soul formation cultivator. His fists were filled with terrifying brute force as he violently hammered the soul-absorbing bird's neck. A layer of green light flowed on the surface of the bird's feathers. His immense strength only pushed it back a few feet. Boom! A sonic boom erupted in the air. Lu Kuan stepped into the void, widening the distance between them as he fled towards the northeast. In Gu Deming's soul formation domain, a demonic beast was already so powerful. He was no match for it. Boom! Almost at the same time, a green and red flame flashed outside the body of the soul-catching bird. Its whole body disappeared and appeared behind Lu Kuan in an instant. Its sharp claws tore at Lu Kuan's skin, making a series of crisp clashing sounds. This demonic bird, Lu Kuan's head hurt. Whether it was the power contained in the bird's claws or the soul attack, they couldn't hurt him. However, the strange aura that went straight to the soul gave the soul-absorbing bird a location, allowing its fire escape technique to accurately lock onto the bird's position every time. The other party had the support of vitality and willpower, so it was difficult for the 1,000,000-kilogram origin energy field to restrict it. Since you want to stick to me, then come at me. A ruthless look flashed across Lu Kuan's eyes. His body twisted as he flashed to the back of the soul-absorbing bird. He hooked his arms under its wings and pressed his hands against the back of its neck, hugging the demonic bird in his arms. At the same time, his passive origin energy field enveloped it. The power of his physical body and the origin energy field worked together to firmly press the bird against his chest. The soul-absorbing bird struggled frantically. Its willpower was completely used to control vitality, to defend, and teleport. In the face of this kind of double physical restraint, it would be difficult to break free unless it gave up its defense. Hundreds of astonishing treasured lights soared into the sky. Lu Kuan's speed increased by a notch as he brought the demonic bird into the distance. At this moment, the chilling divine intent became even clearer. At the same time, an endless stream of willpower descended. Body refining pavilion. How dare you come here? Following Gu Deming's words, which were filled with killing intent, a willpower that could severely injure the soul of a nascent soul stage cultivator surged into Lu Kuan's body. The latter snorted coldly. His chi and blood surged like a vast ocean. The skin on the surface of his body turned into a silver crystal. Thick chi and blood surged on it, like a thin layer of blood essence armor covering his body. The soul formation intent seemed to be hindered and could not move forward. With this speed, I can't catch up with this person in the Supreme Profound sect. If he escapes outside, not only will the soul catcher's bird be in danger, but his speed will also increase. I have to catch up as soon as possible. Gu Deming waved one hand, and a small gray sword appeared in his hand. It was the divine spirit treasure, the Chaos Origin Sword. Then, the vigorous vital essence in his body surged endlessly. Several seals flashed, and a large amount of green halos gushed out from the surrounding chi of heaven and earth. A huge green sword light enveloped his body. An ear-piercing buzzing sound flashed through the air, and Gu Deming's speed soared by 20%. At the same time, his divine sense, which contained the will of endless vitality, did not try to invade Lu Kuan's body again, but instead rushed towards the soul-assimilating bird in his arms. The yellow bird, which had stopped struggling, suddenly had its willpower surge. Its sharp beak lit up with a rich green light. The bird's head suddenly turned back and aimed at Lu Kuan's surprised face. Chirp! An ear-piercing and terrifying chirp turned into a green sound wave that blasted toward his head. The strange aura that reached his spirit merged with the rich willpower, ignoring the layer of blood crystal armor and rushing into his head. Lu Kuan was stunned for a moment. His body slowed down and his eyes glazed over. It seemed that his spirit had been injured. But in the next moment, his eyes suddenly lit up with a dazzling golden light. Two golden spirit pillars shot out and landed on the head of the soul-absorbing bird. They ignored the layer of Yuan Qi shield and sank into it. The demon bird let out a painful howl. A large ball of red flame mixed with a green halo exploded on Lu Kuan's chest. Boom! A heart-palpitating wave of chi spread in all directions. Lu Kuan's rapidly flying figure was blown away. The Xiaoling's soft armor fell off, and the blood crystal armor shattered, revealing the wriggling muscles on his chest. The soul catcher escaped from Lu Kuan's restraint through the explosion of the flame. It floated in the air, with only a layer of dim green light around its body. It looked dispirited. Lu Kuan hesitated for a moment, but did not do anything else. The light in his body shone brightly, and his legs ran wildly in the void. Behind him, there were waves of slightly distorted air arcs. His speed increased by a few degrees. A spirit attack, the willpower contained in it, and it's the endless cycle. How is this possible? Gu Deming showed a look of disbelief. After a moment, he took a deep breath. His expression calmed down, and the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. No wonder you dare to behave so atrociously in my sect. Your spirit is indeed extraordinary. But the endless cycle has already infected your spirit. No matter how far you run, I can still sense it. Chapter 1145. Lu Kuan covered his chest with one hand. The muscle fibers inside were quickly recovering under the circulation of his essence blood. Soon, a layer of crystal-clear, silver blood crystals covered his strong chest muscles again. The Xiaoling's soft armor that shrunk to his waist also spread up, turning into a gray suit. On the belt of the Xiaoling's soft armor, there was a high-level spirit stone. This treasure was activated by a spirit-controlling formation, not by spiritual power. As long as he willed it, it could react. Unfortunately, the weakening effect was limited in the face of Yuan Qi level spells. Although the Yuan Qi explosion flame of the Soul Catcher Bird had not reached the level of Yuan Qi manifestation, it was very close. After consuming a lot of essence blood, he was finally able to completely eliminate it. After recovering from his injuries, Lu Kuan's eyes turned. The golden light in his pupils was aimed at the back of his head as he stared at Gu Deming in the distance. He had the divine sense concealment ability. Even the berserk intent of the spiritual demon valley could not affect him, let alone this newly ascended divine transformation cultivator. However, in this state, he could not release his divine sense. He could only use the golden eye ability to observe the opponent's position. This guy used the divine spiritual treasure to increase his speed. I'm afraid that before I leave the Yuan Qi domain, I will be caught. In such an environment, there is no way to fight. I can only use the method I thought of before. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan's physical body and divine sense probed his internal organs. He felt a little puzzled. Strange, the murderous intent is related to the true demon intent. It is fine if it is attracted to the internal organs, but why did Gu Deming's endless vitality also run into the internal organs? The blood crystal armor on the surface of the skin was to prevent the intent from entering the body. Who knew that the Soul Catcher Bird would use its divine sense attack to ignore this layer of defense and enter the body? This sound wave ability was almost exactly the same as the Soul Blade Light used by Saint Devil Sex Huang Chong. For Lu Kuan, whether it was a sound wave aimed at the body or a direct impact on the soul, it could not hurt him. However, the intent contained within could not be ignored. If it was left in the body, it would be locked onto by the opponent. Lu Kuan activated his bloodline power and used the GoldenEye Divine Light, just like he had used against Huang Chong. Not only was this soul attack unable to find the divine soul, but the power of Will had also dissipated by more than half. Naturally, it collapsed. But who would have thought that the remaining endless life force would rush into his internal organs and disappear into the depths of his internal organs? I already have a way to get rid of the will in my organs. I should deal with this crisis first. Under the gaze of Lu Kuan's golden I Got ability, the distance between the two parties kept shrinking. 40 miles, 30 miles, 20 miles. As Gu Deming approached, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the surrounding spiritual qi became abnormally active. The sky within dozens of miles was filled with a large expanse of green light. The suppressive aura unique to soul formation cultivators became more and more intense. If a normal nascent soul stage cultivator were to be in such an environment, their magic power would be greatly suppressed. Not only would their speed be greatly reduced, their casting of spell techniques would also become much slower. However, bone transformation stage body cultivators were different from traditional cultivators. They had extremely domineering demonic energy in their bodies and were not afraid of true essence suppression at all. Their speed did not decrease at all. Suddenly, Lu Kuan's expression changed. Boom! There was an explosion in the air. His body flashed and drew an arc, dodging a seemingly ordinary white cloud in front of him. In the next moment, the white cloud bloomed with a layer of green halo and turned into a layer of net-like clouds. Gu Deming's divine ability is so terrifying in the spiritual qi domain. He can control the spiritual qi of heaven and earth from 10 miles away. Lu Kuan's expression was dignified. He sensed the vitality of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth around him. He constantly shifted his body, dodging the various spells and divine abilities that appeared out of thin air nearby. For a time, His escape speed was greatly reduced. A cold voice came from afar through the huge divine sense. Little guy from the body refining pavilion, you have nowhere to run. Why don't you let me see what kind of divine ability a body refining technique has? When Lu Kuan heard this sentence, a green rope of clouds flashed across his body, and he suddenly raised his head to the sky and laughed wildly. The incomparably vigorous sound waves even scattered a few clouds nearby. The Xian sect is indeed still coveting the pavilion's cultivation technique. Gu Deming, I'm not afraid to tell you that Lu came to the Great Zhou dynasty this time to destroy the Xian sect. I want the Great Zhou dynasty's sects to know what kind of miserable fate awaits those who provoke the body refining pavilion. Gu Deming coldly snorted and said, You talk big. You think too highly of yourself if you want to use the Xian sect as an example to others. I want to see if you have the combat strength of a soul formation stage cultivator. In the time it took to exchange a few words, the distance between the two sides had been shortened to 1,000 feet. Gu Deming's entire body was wrapped in the sword light of the chaotic origin sword. A 3 feet long dark green jade ruler appeared in his hand, and a dazzling green sword chi shot out from it. It was like a physical long sword with mysterious runes engraved on it, and exuded an aura that could tear through all things. With the appearance of the sword chi, the yuan chi of heaven and earth in the surrounding air cheered. Balls of green halos appeared one after another and constantly poured into the sword. The pressure of the yuan chi inside became heavier and heavier, and the speed of the sword chi increased dramatically. Soon, it surpassed Lu Kuan's speed. Sound of air exploding could be heard as Lu Kuan tried his best to move and dodge. However, no matter what he did, the terrifying sword chi had accurately locked onto his position. Lu Kuan narrowed his eyes when he saw this scene. He was still flying, but thick muscles intertwined like pythons on his back. His entire back was like an inverted triangle of muscle, as if a mountain was on his back. It was deformed and ferocious. Streams of silver light converged from all parts of his body towards this small mountain of muscle. Within 4 feet of it, for layers of silver vortexes appeared. They fused and squeezed with each other, superimposing into a dazzling silver ring that emitted an astonishing suction and crushing force. Rumble! The green sword chi directly blasted forward, and a dazzling halo of light shot into the sky. Lu Kuan did not stop to take it head-on. Instead, he used the explosion of the sword chi to speed up his escape. The silver vortexes behind him only lasted for a moment before they were forcibly shattered. The spiritual light of the Xiaoling soft armor also dimmed in an instant and shrank back to his waist, revealing the ferocious, small mountain of muscle on his back. Those large muscle lumps, under the impact of the sword chi, continued to collapse and melt. At the same time, new muscle lumps continued to form. The incomparably vigorous power of blood and chi and the terrifying halo of chi intertwined with each other, forming a dual-colored stream of light in the air. Circles of chi waves continued to spread in all directions. All the cultivators within 1,000 miles could feel the terrifying pressure erupting from this side. After a full 10 breaths of time, this small mountain of muscle had been reforged countless times. It forcibly exhausted the power of the green sword chi, and the green halo dissipated. The deformed muscle lumps quickly shrank back, turning back into a normal broad back. The skin on it was intact, as if it had not been damaged at all. This was the defensive power of flesh and blood that Lu Kuan possessed after entering the middle stage of bone transformation. The mature muscles contracted and became incomparably hard. A weak attack could not break through, but in the face of a strong attack, as long as there was enough blood essence, it could continuously replenish the loss of muscle fibers and consume its power. After the attack of this sword chi, Lu Kuan was not only unscathed but also pulled more than a mile away. He laughed and said with full energy, "Spirit-severing stage cultivators are really powerful, but those nascent soul stage elders of yours are too weak. Qingyang Taoist and Peng Yuanhua, Lu killed them happily. Gu Deming seemed to be shocked by Lu Kuan's body. After a moment of silence, he said with a bit of surprise, 2 great cultivators and 9 nascent soul stage cultivators. The loss is indeed heavy, but to be able to obtain a body-refining cultivation method, this price is completely worth it. When Lu Kuan heard this, the corners of his mouth curved into a smile. Although Lu is not your opponent, relying on this body, he can at least last for half a day. But at that time, the losses of the Xian sect will probably be more than this. Lu is very curious. If all the nascent soul stage cultivators of your sect fall, and you're the only one left, will the Xian sect still be able to maintain its current territory and status? Gu Deming's pupil shrank. What do you mean? Lu Kuan sneered. Old man, haven't you heard of the strategy of luring the tiger away from the mountain? Lu's 2 senior brothers have long been lurking in the territory of the Xian sect. I don't know if your martial nephews can withstand the magical power of a high-rank body cultivator. Ha! When Gu Deming heard this, he couldn't help but look at his storage bracelet. His spiritual sense entered a 10,000-mile talisman, and then the talisman flashed and sent back a message. He was slightly relieved, but his expression became hesitant. There were only 2 late nascent soul stage cultivators left in the Xian sect. If Mo Honkai was really ambushed by the other party, then the strength of the Xian sect's upper echelons would be cut off. In addition, a large number of nascent soul stage cultivators had fallen. Many years later, the broken country would not have enough people to participate. Gu Deming sensed the endless vitality in Lu Kuan's body and showed a bit of unwillingness. He gave up the chase, and the escape light made an arc in the air and sped back in the direction of the Xian sect. Chapter 1146. Seeing that Gu Deming did not continue to track him, Lu Kuan remained calm on the surface. But in his heart, he breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, he did not use his transcendence heaven and earth. He only relied on the defensive techniques of his physical body and the defense of the middle stage of bone transformation to block Gu Deming's origin chi sword. In the end, he consumed 1/5 of the blood in his body to wear out the power. It was not as easy as he appeared to be. This kind of pseudo-soul formation cultivator, in his own origin chi region, his magical power is several times stronger than other places. I can withstand at least 7 attacks, like Taoist Qingyang's previous attack with the help of the Chaos Gourd. As for Gu Deming's personal attack, it only takes 5 attacks to exhaust my essence blood. With the endless chi locking on, there is no way to dodge. If I continue to fight, I will only have a chance of survival if I use the full Yuan Qi. This person's Chaos Gourd sword has not been activated yet. Lu Kuan took a deep breath. Fortunately, his words worked, and Gu Deming was scared away. After coming to the Deyuan province, he had been in the dark and did not leave any aura behind. He was not sure how many high-level body cultivators there were. The internal strength of the body refining pavilion was very mysterious, even in the entire southwest immortal world, not to mention the distant Dezhou. With the strength that Lu Kuan had shown, if there were really 2 brothers with similar magical power, the nascent soul stage elders of the Xian sect would have to hide together to be truly safe. In the case of asymmetric information, unless Gu Deming did not care about the development of the Xian sect, he would have scruples and prioritize protecting the sect. Lu Kuan maintained his flying speed while probing the state of his physical body. This old guy probably sensed the endless chi in my body and felt that he could track me at any time, so he temporarily gave up. If I encounter him again, he may use the Chaos Gourd sword. I have to store more essence blood to at least increase the endurance of my physical body. Recently, as soon as his essence blood recovered, he began to treat his internal organs. The essence blood that he temporarily stored was also traded with the Corpse King of Zhoming Mountain. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan relaxed a lot. The secret technique I got from the exchange is very helpful in eliminating the foreign will. With the help of the Supreme Grade Spirit Stone, the 2 foreign will were eliminated during the last healing. Now, According to the characteristics of the dark spirit crystal, this one can be eliminated with the same method. And I can also study the strange phenomenon I encountered last time. As Lu Kuan pondered, he had already flown out of the territory of the Supreme Profound Sect and continued to shoot towards the northeast. 3 days later, Lu Kuan's figure appeared in the sky above an unfamiliar region. The sky here was dark purple. Although there was also spirit energy in the air, it was mainly devil energy. The density here was even more abundant than that of the state of Qi. This was the great Zhou dynasty's ancient spirit state. It was separated from the Diyuan state by the Guiyuan River. To the south was the Zhongming Mountain and Huatian state. To the north was the Shattered Kingdom. To the east was another devil region, the Dew Cloud state. The ancient spirit state was home to the third largest sect of the great Zhou dynasty, the Prime Devil sect. It was said that this sect inherited from the ancient Yuan sect and had many exquisite devil techniques. Its overall strength was incomparably strong, not inferior to the second-ranked Blue Cloud sect. The two sects had the same number of high-level cultivators, but the Blue Cloud sect had 2 divine spirit treasures, so their overall strength was higher than the Prime Devil sect. The ancient spirit state was the devil region closest to the Dayuan state. Lu Kuan naturally came here to avoid Gu Deming. Devil Qi was the main energy in the devil region. Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi was scarce. If he fought here, he could unleash his true strength. Moreover, he could activate the purple gold devil saber and use it to manifest Yuan Qi. It was fine if Gu Deming didn't come, but if he came to the ancient spirit state, Lu Kuan looked forward to fighting him. Lu Kuan flew in the air while checking a map in a jade slip. After half a day, he arrived at a plain southwest of the ancient spirit state. There was no green vegetation here. The ground was covered in hard gray soil and a dark shrub that grew in the cracks of the rocks. This plant was called devil shrub. It emitted a mild poison all year round. If a mortal breathed it in, their body would be weakened and they would vomit continuously. In serious cases, they would die on the spot. But for cultivators, they only needed Qi refinement realm Dharma power to remove it. Therefore, there were no mortals living in this place, called Devil Irrigation Plain. All the major devil sects of the ancient spirit state gathered here, as well as a shocking number of itinerant cultivators. Although these forces didn't have any soul formation cultivators, they still had 2 great cultivators. They barely managed to occupy a third of the ancient spirit state's plains under the Prime Devil sect's nose. As Lu Kuan flew, a city shrouded in purple-black clouds gradually appeared in his vision. Purple Cloud City. Lu Kuan looked at the city's name from afar. He slowed down and his muscles wriggled, turning into a skinny, bald man. Then, he took out a spirit boat and separated the devil Qi in his body, revealing his late-stage foundation establishment devil Qi wave. He slowed down. There were many other devil cultivators like him flying toward the city within dozens of miles. Purple Cloud City was located at the border of Devil Irrigation Plain, close to the Prime Devil sect's territory. It was a city led by the Prime Devil sect and the forces of Devil Irrigation Plain. As a common market, it maintained order in the devil sects. No fighting was allowed within 100 miles of Purple Cloud City. Otherwise, they would be killed by the nascent soul cultivators in charge. This rule was similar to the monolith city in the state of Qi. From the information he obtained, there were 2 nascent soul elders of the Prime Devil sect stationed here all year round. The forces of Devil Irrigation Plain also had nascent soul cultivators in charge. The restriction that enveloped Purple Cloud City was on the level of a forbidden formation. For some devil sects itinerant cultivators, this was the safest place in the ancient spirit state. Lu Kuan landed outside the Purple Cloud City. After handing over some spirit stones, he entered the Purple Cloud City. The layout of the city was similar to the rippling spirit city that he had been to before. After rejecting a few feng shinzi, he slowly walked in. The shops here, whether it was refining weapons or talismans, were all devil cultivators. They were much more prosperous than the markets in the state of Qi. Before long, Lu Kuan passed by an inconspicuous little house. Seeing the 3 words Shadow Pavilion on it, his heart skipped a beat, and he walked in directly. After a little more than 15 minutes, he walked out. His body flashed, and he disappeared into the crowd of people on the street, leaving behind afterimages. A few indistinct divine senses searched around and returned to the Shadow Pavilion unwillingly. On another street, Lu Kuan felt the retreating divine senses and was quite surprised. This Shadow Pavilion is not simple. There are actually 2 nascent soul cultivators in charge of the Purple Cloud City Market. They even try to track me down. Looks like the news of the Saint Devil sect has attracted the attention of many forces. But this time, the news of the death of 2 great cultivators and 9 nascent soul elders of the Supreme Mystery sect should cause an even bigger commotion. After all, it's a sect with a soul formation cultivator in charge. Once the news spreads, Gut Deming will have a harder time coming out. The identity token he used this time was the same as the one he used in the Rippling Spirit City Market. The Shadow Pavilion should be able to deduce that the losses of the 2 major sects were caused by a single force. If they sent people to investigate, they might be able to find out that it was the Body Refining Pavilion who did it. However, this was exactly what Lu Kuan wanted. Just based on the fact that he had caused the Supreme Mystery sect and the Saint Devil sect to suffer such heavy losses, the other major sects would not easily provoke the Body Refining Pavilion. Lu Kuan thought to himself. He walked to the place where he rented the cave abode. Using some spirit stones, he rented a cave abode with ordinary devil chi. He planned to solve the problem of the endless life force in his organs in the Purple Cloud City. Chapter 1147. Purple Cloud City was incomparably vast. Lu Kuan walked through the southwest district, which was dominated by the cultivator market. The north district was where the auction house was located. The auction house here was a bit interesting. It did not hold an auction. If the cultivator had something to sell, they would directly entrust it to the auction house. After the appraiser evaluated it, they would negotiate a buyout price and a bidding price with the seller. The item would then be put on the auction house list for half a year. When the time was up, it would either end with a bidding price or be bought at a buyout price. If no one was interested, the seller would have to pay a storage fee to take it away. Lu Kuan simply looked at the auction house list. With his current vision, there was nothing that caught his eye. As for things related to the method of refining spirit treasures, there was not a single one. He left here and went to the East District. This area was densely packed with rows of cave residences. Rather than cave residences, it was better to call them large courtyards covered in restrictions. These restrictions were connected together and were connected to the forbidden array of Purple Cloud City. Attacking any cave residence was equivalent to fighting against the entire city's array. It was extremely safe. Lu Kuan chose a small courtyard in the outermost area. He used the token to open the restriction and walked in. The inside was very simple. Other than a courtyard with a medicine field, there was only a cultivation room. On the floor of the room, there was a simple jade cattail and a magic gathering array. He did not care about the slightly thin demonic chi here. With his foundation establishment cultivation, this kind of cave residence suited his identity. Lu Kuan entered the room and sealed the restriction. With a flash of light, Serene's exquisite body appeared. She had a look of self-blame and said, "Pavilion Master, Ener is too weak to help." If Xiao Jin was here, Pavilion Master would have been able to detect that big bird in advance. Although Serene had been in Lu Kuan's rib, she could still sense what was happening outside. Unfortunately, she was not strong enough to participate in the battle. Lu Kuan shook his head and said, "Little Gold is currently tempering its own bloodline, preparing to break through to the bone transformation stage. Moreover, it is still at the great accomplishment stage of bone treasure, so its spirit ear ability can't detect anything beyond 100 miles. He paused and said with a smile, "It's a good thing I brought you out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to activate the nether insect race's holy artifact, and I wouldn't have been able to find the best way to eliminate the mutant will." Gu Deming used the soul-sucking bird's natural gift to inject the endless vitality well into my body. It hid in the depths of my organs. We merged our essence blood and used the same method as last time to eliminate the mutant will. Sure, Ener nodded. Her dark gray lips parted slightly, and a translucent eight-sided crystal slowly floated out. Lu Kuan sighed as he looked at the crystal that was emitting a strange aura. After exchanging secret arts with the corpse kings of the Middle Underworld Mountain, he found out that this thing that the underworld insect race called a holy item was actually condensed from pure consciousness. The corpse kings called it the underworld spirit crystal. According to the information left behind by Senior Metal Elite Zombie, the nether spirit crystals left behind by the nether insect clan in the immortal cultivation world were condensed from nether insects that were at least at the late divine transformation stage. The consciousness inside was very pure and didn't have any soul aura. It was completely different from the consciousness aura of a cultivator. Lu Kuan felt that it would be more accurate to describe it as pure mental strength. By chance, the Metal Elite Zombie discovered the method to activate the Dark Soul Crystal. It was able to use the pure mental energy contained within. It borrowed this energy to digest the will of the nascent soul of the divine transformation stage nascent soul and condensed a consciousness crystal in its brain. With the help of the zombie core, he refined the true yuan in the nascent soul and combined it with the coldine energy to form a similar level of energy, the underworld spirit. From Metal Elite Zombie's path of advancement, it could be seen that the nether insect race didn't comprehend the power of will. The key to breaking through to the Insect King level was to condense this kind of high-level consciousness crystal. The fusion of the 5 Corpse Kings of the Middle Underworld Mountain was a secret art created by Metal Elite Zombie according to his own breakthrough process. By activating the mental strength inside the Underworld Spirit Crystal to resist the power of will, the 5-peak 10th level corpse cores refined the Yuan Qi inside the Supreme Grade Spirit Stone with the help of the pure mental strength and transformed it into temporary Underworld Spirit Crystal. This ability could resist the will of the Divine Transformation stage and also resist the true Yuan. Even in the outside world, it could greatly increase one's control over the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth and the demonic Yuan Qi. The only drawback was that its power was only close to that of the Divine Transformation stage. This secret art had a great reference value for sure Ener's future breakthrough. For Lu Kuan, the method to use the Underworld Spirit Crystal was the biggest gain. The pure mental strength that was activated could resist and wear down the power of will. He once used the healing method to wear down the will of will with the help of the mental strength in Ener's blood. If he could directly activate the Underworld Spirit Crystal, the efficiency would be greatly increased. One of the conditions for activating the Underworld Spirit Crystal was to have extremely rich blood essence. The 10th level Silver Armored Corpse was activated by the blood essence in its body. The rich blood essence assisted a blood seal that drew out the aura of the underworld insect race from the blood to activate the mental strength in the underworld spirit crystal. The 5 Corpse Kings fought until the end. Their corpse cores were full of energy, and they had more than one supreme grade spirit stone. The underworld spirit crystal could be used for a long time, but the blood essence in their bodies was limited. They couldn't keep activating the underworld spirit crystal. Therefore, when the Corpse Kings saw Ener, they were shocked. They knew that the corpse chi could be suppressed by blood essence. For Ener, who couldn't sense the corpse chi at all, the blood essence in her body was as rich as 3 or 4 10th level silver armored corpses. The silver armored corpses had abundant blood essence. Not only were their bodies close to the human race, but their meridians and dantians were also complete. Their cultivation speed was greatly increased, and their combination secret arts could be used for a longer time. This was the reason why they were so desperate for Lu Kuan's blood essence. Let's start. Activate the Underworld Spirit Crystal together. Under the influence of the power of the Void the underworld spirit crystal floated between the two. Lu Kuan and serene opened their mouths at the same time. Two balls of silver blood essence were spat out and fused together in the air. As the blood flowed and intertwined, a special aura gradually appeared. It was very similar to Yin energy, but also somewhat different. It was filled with a deathly stillness. This was the unique aura of the underworld insect race, or the underworld attribute. In order to activate the underworld insect race's sacred relic, it didn't matter how rich Lu Kuan's blood essence was. His blood had to contain this deathly stillness of the underworld insect race's aura. Serene's blood was only a guide to activate the underworld attribute in the depths of Lu Kuan's blood essence. As the deathly stillness appeared, the blood fell on the underworld spirit crystal and melted into it like blood and water. Then, a five-colored light shot towards Lu Kuan like a rainbow. A ball of silver blood mist had appeared in front of Yin at some unknown time. After the mist was hit by the rainbow light, it turned into tiny ice crystals. They looked like silver snowflakes and flashed with a colorful halo. Lu Kuan looked at the silver snowflakes and sighed. When I was breaking through, the bone treasure was too strong because it had fused with the silver dragon meteorite. My blood essence and demonic chi couldn't refine it. So I swallowed the blood essence dark demonic pill and let my blood essence and demonic chi mix with the underworld attribute to speed up the refinement of the bone treasure. If I didn't have the underworld attribute, I'm afraid I would have to wait until Serene became a rank 10 silver-armored corpse to activate the underworld spirit crystal. These thoughts flashed through his mind. Lu Kuan took a deep breath, and the ball of blood mist with the unique aura of the underworld spirit crystal entered his mouth. Chapter 1148. This blood crystal, which contained pure psychic power, was carried by his thick blood essence and flowed into the capillaries of his internal organs. Lu Kuan's internal organs had already turned into several masses of blood under the effect of the flesh and blood condensation technique. They hung from the intertwined blood vessels, flowing with the aura of life. What was different from before was that the amount of life force in his internal organs had reached 50% of the total amount in his body. It had to be known that when he first entered the early bone transformation realm, only a trace of life force could enter. If there was too much life force, his internal organs would not be able to support it. This scene showed that the strength of his internal organs had greatly increased. Snowflake-like blood flowed through his internal organs. Rich life force circulated within. At this time, the life force was not absorbing Serene's blood, but Lu Kuan's own blood essence. The efficiency was extremely high. Soon, the pure soul force aura of the dark spirit crystal appeared in his internal organs. As soon as it appeared, the density far surpassed the previous healing level. A blue light will emerge from the blood of his heart. It anxiously bumped around, but it was unwilling to leave his internal organs. A moment later, the surrounding life force all rushed towards his heart, wrapping around it. Rich and pure soul force gathered together, emitting a rainbow luster. The endless life force found that there was no way to retreat. Without any hesitation, it rushed towards the surrounding life force aura, as if it would fight to the death with this energy. Bang! When the two special spiritual energies collided, an invisible shockwave of consciousness spread out in all directions with his heart as the center. The blood that was his internal organs shook violently. A throbbing pain, like an electric current, was transmitted to Lu Kuan's soul through his internal organs and nerves. His sturdy body trembled incessantly. Tiny silver veins appeared on his face, and the short hair on his head all stood up. His brain was violently vibrating, and there was even the sound of boiling water. At the same time, the spinal cord in his spinal canal also rippled. Traces of soul force had somehow penetrated his flesh and bones, colliding with his spinal cord and brain. Lu Kuan clenched his teeth, causing them to creak, and even sparks to appear from his teeth. His late nascent soul stage divine sense madly surged, resisting the remnant shock wave in his spinal cord. His expression was incomparably ferocious. After a full quarter of an hour, his twitching body finally calmed down. He slowly opened his eyes and felt the remaining spiritual aura in his internal organs. His brows relaxed slightly. After directly activating the dark spirit crystal, my pure mental power has greatly increased. I was able to destroy the will of the mutant in one go. The consciousness shockwave created was extremely powerful. Just like last time, it affected my central nervous system. After he had obtained the method to use the dark spirit crystal from the underworld mountain Corpse King, he and Sure Ener had tried to use it. It was during that healing session that he had used his increased psychic power to destroy the remaining will of the mutant. During this process, there were two important discoveries. One was that the shock wave generated by the consciousness and spirit seemed to be able to pass through the internal organs and directly affect the central nervous system, that is, the spinal cord and the brain. The two seemed to have a special connection. Lu Kuan carefully sensed his own divine sense, which was resisting the remnant of the consciousness shockwave in his spinal cord. It was a bit more condensed than before, but he showed a look of regret. Although the pain in the central nervous system this time is much less than last time, it is still very strong. There is no way to sense how it is connected to the internal organs. It seems that I have to find a way to make a few more of these consciousness shockwaves. If I can find the connection between the two, maybe based on this, I can find the next step of the cultivation of the body and divine sense. Many years ago, Lu Kuan used the fortune pill to trigger the connection between the divine sense and the spinal cord, and thus developed the cultivation method of the divine sense during the bone treasure stage. The spirit sensing technique during the body tempering stage was based on the cultivation of the divine sense and the peripheral nervous system. During the bone treasure stage, it involved the spinal cord and the central nervous system. Through the interaction between the divine sense, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, the body and divine sense could be improved. According to Lu Kuan's inference at the bone transformation stage, the cultivation of the divine sense should be related to the brain and the central nervous system, but he had no clue. He didn't expect that through this strong consciousness shockwave, he would be able to discover that there was some kind of connection between his mind, central nervous system, and internal organs. If he could find out the secret, then he could continue to cultivate his soul. When the trip to the Greyjoy dynasty is over, I'll try a few more consciousness shockwaves. Lu Kuan took a deep breath and put away this thought for the time being. The chi and blood in his body surged, and he spat out a shiny silver blood crystal. There was a faint trace of green spirit light in it. When eliminating the fiendish intent and true devil intent, there were also remnants of consciousness, which I condensed into fiend threads. I didn't expect that Gu Deming, a divine transformation stage cultivator, would also have impurities in his will. Lu Kuan sprinkled a cloud of dragon breaking stone powder and wrapped it into a small gray ball. He put it aside and continued to sense the situation in his body. The blood-like internal organs, under his control, reconstituted into organs and hung in the blood vessels. They looked dim and had lost their original watery luster. Obviously, they were severely damaged by the consciousness shockwave. Seeing this, Lu Kuan looked a little excited. In addition to the central nervous system, his second discovery was that the strength of the internal organs could be greatly improved after the baptism of the shockwave. Fortunately, he had healed several times, and his internal organs had improved to a certain extent. Otherwise, the powerful consciousness shockwave would be difficult for his internal organs to bear. Last time, after eliminating the fiendish intent and true devil intent, and quickly recovering through the vitality in the top-grade spirit stone, the internal organs could hold more than 50% of the life force. After the internal organs recovered this time, they would continue to be strengthened. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's attention turned to the part of the life force in his internal organs that still contained the aura of mental power. Ina! When Sure Ener heard Lu Kuan's call, she had already prepared a cloud of blood in front of her and poured it into Lu Kuan's mouth. The silver-armored corpse's blood flowed through the blood vessels and into his internal organs. Then, in a unique way, it mixed with Lu Kuan's blood essence in the internal organs capillaries and gradually emitted a deathly aura. The mental power attached to the life force separated and merged into the cloud of blood. Then, the cloud of blood wrapped in mental power was spat out and floated towards serene. The latter showed an excited expression and swallowed it in one gulp. Then, she sat cross-legged and quietly cultivated. Previously, she absorbed the mental power in the dark spirit crystal by accident. Now, she used the secret technique of the middle underworld mountain and Lu Kuan's blood essence to directly refine this special energy. As the mental power aura merged with the blood, Serene's affinity with all kinds of energy greatly increased, which in turn improved her aptitude. After doing all this, Lu Kuan's expression relaxed. After extinguishing the endless vitality will, Gu Deming had no way to track him. He looked at the blood essence crystal wrapped in the dragon-breaking stone powder beside him. Although it's a remnant of the will, that guy might still be able to track it. It's better to leave it in Purple Cloud City. Then, a spirit light flashed in Lu Kuan's hand, and a piece of supreme-grade spirit stone appeared. The Yuan Qi in the supreme-grade spirit stone could quickly restore the internal organs, and he also had a way to eliminate the mutant will in the internal organs. In other words, the price of full elemental power could be used again in a short period of time within an acceptable range. Therefore, he regarded the supreme-grade spirit stone as a must-have item. He specially used his blood essence to exchange for one from the Middle Underworld Mountain Corpse King. Although those level 10 silver-armored corpses were very thirsty for their blood essence, supreme-grade spirit stones were also important. They were necessary for the fusion theurgy. Lu Kuan only exchanged for one. If he didn't have the intention of forming an alliance with them, he would have already done something to those heavily injured corpse kings. The news has been spread. At least Gu Deming won't leave the sect. Now that the shock is enough, I can make a trip to the Saint Devil sect. These thoughts flashed through his mind. Lu Kuan held the supreme-grade spirit stone and entered a state of cultivation. Chapter 1149. Dayuan State, Xian Sect, Qingyuan Valley. Inside a tree hole in the Qingyuan ancient tree, the soul-assimilating bird had turned into a yellow bird. Its eyelids drooped, and it looked extremely dispirited as it lay on a dark yellow wooden stake. Gu Deming stood aside and muttered to himself. His right hand formed a seal, while his left hand formed a seal. Wisps of green spiritual light, carrying the will of endless vitality, surged towards the soul-assimilating bird. Suddenly, he stopped the seal in his hand and turned to look towards the northeast. His face was slightly pale, and his eyes flashed with disbelief. The true meaning that contained a trace of the primordial spirit was also destroyed by him. Gu Deming sensed carefully again, and his expression became extremely gloomy. After a while, he took a deep breath and looked at the soul-assimilating bird in front of him. Do you think that I can't track you down just like that? He calmed himself down and continued to cast the spell. As time passed, the spiritual light in the soul-assimilating bird's eyes gradually brightened. Its dispirited appearance disappeared, and even its yellow feathers became more lustrous. After a while, its wings gradually opened. It flapped twice and directly flew up. Seeing this, Gu Deming stopped the seal in his hand, and a green ball of light surged out of his body. With a strong will of endless vitality, it surged towards the soul-assimilating bird. This ball of light was a trace of his primordial spirit separated from his nascent soul. The primordial spirit of a soul formation cultivator was the product of the complete combination of the power of will and the nascent soul. It was the origin of the will. Gu Deming's spells, divine sense, and the power of will within the scope of the primordial spirit were all released by the primordial spirit. Even if they were lost, it did not matter as they could continue to be replenished. However, if the primordial spirit was damaged, even the ancient soul formation cultivators would have to spend a lot of time to recover. For a pseudo-soul formation cultivator like him, recovery was even more difficult. Unless he took the legendary elixirs to quickly recover his primordial spirit. These treasures had long been extinct in the immortal cultivation world. The various wills left in the immortal cultivation world were actually the primordial spirits of other soul formation cultivators after they died. As long as there were enough of them, they could be merged with the pseudo-soul assimilation method. When the soul-taming bird saw the primordial spirit, it let out a joyful cry and took the initiative to welcome it. It swallowed the primordial spirit in one gulp, and then the will of endless vitality circulated in its body, and its eyes became more lively. The reason why the Xian sect's holy beast was so powerful was that it had fused with a trace of Gu Deming's primordial spirit and was able to control the qi of heaven and earth in its domain. The soul-taming bird's final attack on Lu Kuan had even sent out a wisp of nascent divinity that had fused into its body. Gu Deming did not expect that not only did the other party ignore the will inside, but he also had the means to destroy the primordial spirit power. Even though this strand of primordial spirit was not much, it would take him at least 100 years to recover. The soul-taming bird's demonic spiritual energy and demonic soul surged and quickly merged with the new Yuan Shan. Then it opened its sharp beak and spat out a silent sound wave with a tiny pale golden light spot. Gu Deming's face lit up with joy. He stretched out his hand and wrapped it with a green true essence as he sensed it with rapt attention. Sure enough, there's the aura of endless vitality. What kind of body-refining cultivation method is it that can allow the body to cultivate such a terrifying divine ability? It's obviously not at the spirit-severing stage, but it has the means to resist the willpower and even swallow it to launch a soul attack. He recalled the scene of Lu Kuan's eyes shooting out golden light and still felt that it was inconceivable. If the other party had relied on some kind of magical treasure or powerful ancient talisman to launch a soul attack, he wouldn't have been surprised. However, the other party had used a secret technique with his eyes. He couldn't imagine how his fragile eyes could withstand this kind of divine light. Gu Deming carefully observed this golden light and muttered, "It's indeed the aura of a human soul, not a foreign race. This is a body-refining cultivation method that can be cultivated by humans. I'm over 900 years old now, so I still have over 1,000 years to live. If I can obtain this body-refining cultivation method and cultivate it to that guy's level, it's completely possible for me to pass through the spatial rift in the Broken Kingdom and forcefully ascend to the upper realm. Only by ascending to the upper realm can I truly reach the spirit-severing stage. Not only will my lifespan be extended, but I'll also have the possibility of advancing further. I must obtain this body-refining cultivation method." At this moment, his expression suddenly changed. He flipped his hand, and an exquisite talisman appeared in his hand. Mo Hongtsai's voice sounded from it, reporting to Grand Elder, "Junior Marshal Brother Wei has agreed to go to the body-refining pavilion to gather information. However, he wants to ask Marshal Uncle for a life-saving treasure." Gu Deming said indifferently, "Bring him here." The voice from the talisman continued to sound with a hint of hesitation. "Yes, Marshal Uncle, but what is it?" And Mo Hongkai said, "Marshal Uncle, we just received news from the Shadow Pavilion. The news of the deaths of many of our sect's elders has already spread." Gu Deming's pupils contracted. He said calmly, "When did it spread? Which base of the Shadow Pavilion is it from?" Mo Hongkai said, "Today. The location is the purple cloud city of the ancient spirit state." He paused and continued, "I also received another piece of information. The person who sold this news is the same person who spread the news of the deaths of the Saint Devil Sect's elders. Although he's only at the foundation establishment stage, the nascent soul stage cultivators of the Shadow Pavilion can't track him down. Even the Dharma power mark is useless." Gu Deming thought back to the direction where the trace of essence spirit disappeared. He said slowly, "It should be the guy who fought with me." Bring Junior Marshall Brother Way to Qingyuan Valley. Yes, Marshall Uncle. Gu Deming put away the 10,000-mile talisman. His eyes flashed with anger. Peng Yuanhua, this guy, didn't even know the strength of the body refining pavilion. He said that the sect's strength is ordinary and that only the pavilion master, Lu Kuan, has the strength of a grand cultivator. Even if the guy who fought with me was Lu Kuan, his strength is at least close to the soul formation stage. He can crush other grand cultivators. He's about the same as the old monk of Huatian Temple. If I knew the strength of the body refining pavilion, I wouldn't be so passive. He said coldly, "You destroyed a trace of my essence spirit, killed many of our sect's nascent soul stage cultivators, and spread the news. Do you really think I don't dare to leave the Shin sect?" Gu Deming sent out a few beams of spiritual light. A corner of the tree hole suddenly lit up. A round room suddenly appeared. It was filled with a green halo and a strong sense of life. On the soil of the tree hole, there was a strange pale green fruit. It looked like a human body with 4 limbs and a torso. It even had a face similar to Gu Deming's and exuded a strong aura of wood. Beside the human-shaped fruit, there was a nascent soul that was about a foot tall. It held a supreme-grade spirit stone tightly in its hand. Its aura was strong and seemed to be at the level of a grand cultivator. Gu Deming murmured, "After several years of nurturing, this 10,000-year spirit zoisha fruit can be refined into an avatar at any time." Taoist Qingyang's nascent soul has also recovered its previous magic power under the nourishment of the supreme-grade spirit stone and the power of the essence spirit. Although this avatar can only use 40% of my strength with the help of the vitality field, it can even fight against 2 soul formation stage cultivators. Our sect's nascent soul stage elders are all gathered in the sect. With this avatar, even if there are body cultivators hiding in the body refining pavilion, they won't have a chance to attack. He looked at the golden light in his hand and said coldly, "With this trace of soul aura, it's enough to find you. This time I won't hold back. After I finish you, I'll personally go to the body refining pavilion to find the body refining technique." Chapter 1150. Lu Kuan naturally did not know that what had just been destroyed was a trace of Gu Deming's primordial spirit. But even if he knew, he would not be happy. He was caught in a huge dilemma. What's going on? The primordial spirit stones, primordial spirit chi, can't heal the damage to my internal organs. From the time he took out the primordial spirit stone until now, the primordial spirit chi in his body had already flowed through his internal organs for more than 10 cycles. But his internal organs were still dim and showed no signs of recovery. The primordial spirit chi in the primordial spirit chi had not decreased. Lu Kuan was very puzzled. Both times, I used the pure spiritual power of the dark spirit crystal to annihilate the foreign consciousness. The process is almost exactly the same. Could it be that it is like the elixirs of immortal cultivators, that after using too much, it will develop a resistance? That's not right. I only used the primordial spirit stone twice to heal. Even if my internal organs have a resistance to the primordial spirit chi, it should be gradual and the effect should gradually decrease. It should not be as unresponsive as it is now. What's the problem? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's expression suddenly changed. Wait, there's a difference. The will of endless vitality is the will of a divine transformation stage cultivator. But the fiendish spirit chi and true demon will are ownerless wills. Could this be the reason? He frowned again. That's not right. The reaction of Gu Deming's will is the same as that of Huang Chang's fiendish spirit chi. First, it rushed to the soul, then it took the initiative to enter the internal organs. When it was disturbed by the primordial spirit chi, it spontaneously perished together with it. There seems to be no difference. Lu Kuan could not help but fall into deep thought, but when he looked at the primordial spirit stone in his hand, an idea flashed through his mind. That's right. The fiendish spirit chi and true demon will are both wills related to primordial spirit chi. Gu Deming's will of endless vitality is the will to control the primordial spirit chi of heaven and earth. Lu Kuan had come into contact with a lot of willpower, and they all had their own corresponding yuan chi attributes. Some drew in the spiritual yuan chi of heaven and earth, while others drew in the demonic yuan chi. Huang Chang's fiendish devil true intent and the true devil intent fused with the demigod devil cultivator's true devil intent were both wills that controlled the devil yuan chi. On the other hand, Gu Deming's endless cycle intent and Lu Kuan's ethereal intent targeted the spirit yuan chi. In other words, willpower was divided into different attributes. Lu Kuan analyzed in his mind. The previous shock waves of consciousness caused damage to my internal organs with the demonic yuan chi attribute. The top-grade spirit stone contains the demonic yuan chi that can be directly absorbed. The two energies are opposite to each other. Is it because of this that my internal organs were repaired? But the blast wave generated by the endless growth was an injury caused by spiritual vitality, which is of the same origin as the ultra-quality spiritual stone, so it cannot be healed. He thought about it a few times in his mind, and found that this was the only reason why the ultra-quality spiritual stone could not heal his internal organs. According to this theory, the injuries to my internal organs must be healed with demonic yuan chi, right? But there was a new problem. The demonic yuan chi in the ultra-quality spiritual stone could be directly absorbed. But according to Lu Kuan's knowledge, there were only demonic stones in the path of demons, and there were no similar treasures. My internal organs have improved a lot compared to before, but this time the shock wave of consciousness was even stronger. If I were to simply use my life force to nourish it, it would take me at least 3 months to recover from this kind of injury. And during this time, my essence blood would continue to be consumed. Lu Kuan frowned. He urgently needed the 1 yuan power as a trump card. Although the matter of the Xian sect had been resolved, and Gu Deming was unlikely to come out, he had to go to the Saint Devil sect next. This demonic sect's strength had been greatly reduced, and they were no longer a threat to the body refining pavilion. But Lu Kuan was interested in many of their things. From the discerning demon blade and the demon ring, he could see that the Saint Devil sect had the method to refine spirit treasures. And they were demonic treasures, which had great reference value for upgrading his battle treasures. That murderous intent seemed to have been refined by the Seven Evils sect. In the future, he would comprehend the true meaning of soul formation on his own and search for the path to soul formation. He had to get the method to form this intent. Besides that, Lu Kuan also wanted the divine spirit treasure Demon Dragon Blade of the Saint Devil sect. Not only him, but all the other demonic sects, and even the Prime Devil sect, coveted this treasure. He had gone to the Shadow Pavilion to inquire about the situation in the Yunlu state. A few demonic sects had already pressed into the Saint Devil sect's territory, and a war could break out at any time. Lu Kuan naturally didn't care about normal late nascent soul stage demonic cultivators. But if a great cultivator had a spirit treasure replica, or even a divine spirit treasure, he would still be a little wary. The Saint Devil sect had a divine spirit treasure like the Demon Dragon Blade. Even without a soul formation stage demonic cultivator, they were still able to survive for so many years. It was obvious that the sect's foundation was not weak. Otherwise, the Prime Devil sect would have gotten their hands on this treasure long ago. In this whirlpool that surrounded the Saint Devil sect, besides the great cultivators with spirit treasures, even the soul formation stage demonic cultivators of the Prime Devil sect would appear. Lu Kuan wanted to participate, so he naturally had to be fully prepared. Not only did he have to heal his internal injuries as soon as possible, but he also had to store as much blood essence as possible to increase the endurance of his body's defense. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, he looked at his own body, and a hint of arrogance appeared in his eyes. Humph! With Lu Kuan's current strength, even if I don't use the divine spirit treasure, my control over devil essence chi is far beyond that of normal demonic cultivators. I can't refine devil essence chi, but with the help of the transcendence heaven and earth, I can still force it into my body. I don't know if unrefined essence chi can heal my internal organs, but I have to at least try. This will cause a big commotion, and I need an environment with dense devil chi. There are too many people in the Purple Cloud City, so I have to find another place. Lu Kuan stood up and looked at Sher Iner, who was still cultivating. With a wave of his hand, he kept her into his rib cage. Then he picked up the dragon-breaking stone ball under his feet. He walked to the small yard outside. The invisible power of the void surged, and the gray powder dispersed, revealing the crystallized silver blood droplets. I can't leave the blood for that guy. With a thought, the blood crystal melted. The remnant will within seemed to tremble as if it had a life of its own. Without any reaction, it was wrapped up by the dragon-breaking stone ball powder. Lu Kuan put away this mass of blood essence. He gently stomped his left foot, and the stone tiles below turned into a pile of powder. The small dragon-breaking stone ball sank into the powder, and then the powder was compressed by the power of the void, condensing back into the original stone tiles. Then his aura changed. With his foundation establishment, level devil chi, he activated the restriction token and opened the cave dwelling's restrictions. Then he walked out. Lu Kuan didn't stay in the Purple Cloud City. After leaving the city, he controlled the flying boat and flew 100 miles away. He probed his surroundings, and after discovering that no one was following him, he returned to his original appearance. He took out a jade slip and looked at the distribution of the scattered cultivators and family clans in the Magic River Plains. The Demonic Path family clans have rich devil chi, but there are many immortal cultivators there. I might as well look for the cave dwellings of some isolated rogue cultivators. Lu Kuan searched for a long time before he found target. After identifying the direction, he turned into a silver beam of light and soon disappeared into the horizon peak. Chapter 1152. In the southeast of the Magic Valley Plain, there was a lake with a radius of several dozen kilometers. It was called the Fallen Star Lake. A creature called the demonic starfish lived in the lake. This kind of demonic starfish had the ability to devour spiritual energy. If an ordinary core formation cultivator were to be surrounded by this school of demonic starfish, it would be difficult for them to escape death. Only nascent soul cultivators could resist being devoured. Every night, these demonic starfish would come to the surface of the lake. Their scales would resonate with the stars in the sky, and specks of starlight would be reflected on the surface of the lake. It was very magnificent. The demonic starfish liked to devour demonic chi. Although the demonic chi they devoured would be reduced, it would be pure after they spit it out. They could also attract demonic chi to converge. With this school of demonic starfish, the demonic chi in the Fallen Star Lake was rich and pure, forming a paradise for cultivation. However, the one who occupied this place wasn't a Devil Dao clan, but an illustrious rogue cultivator, old Devil Xingyan. This person had a cultivation at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. He had a violent temper and was eccentric. He was a loner and didn't accept any servants or disciples. He was a vengeful person, and all the major powers in the Magic Valley Plain feared him. Gradually, the Fallen Star Lake became a forbidden area in the Magic Valley Plain. Within a radius of several hundred kilometers, there were almost no traces of unfamiliar cultivators. On this day, the tranquility of the Fallen Star Lake was broken. In the depths of the lake, a large expanse of starlight gushed out. Schools of demonic starfish swam upwards, and many of them even jumped out of the lake. It was as if countless starlight were dancing chaotically. If one carefully observed the eyes of these demonic starfish, they would discover that their eyes were filled with fear. It was as if something terrifying was chasing after them. Not long after, an invisible shockwave spread out from the bottom of the lake. The entire Fallen Star Lake seemed to be boiling. Boom! A rumbling sound came from the center of the lake. Suddenly, a powerful pressure erupted from the center of the lake. The lake water surged up to a height of over 30 meters. A huge wave that only appeared in the sea swept up the starlight, demonic starfish, and other lake creatures in all directions. As the huge wave rolled away, the fallen star lake gradually regained its tranquility. However, the demonic star fish still stayed near the surface of the lake, not daring to swim to the bottom. The bottom of Fallen Star Lake was enveloped by a vast formation. There was a hole that was over 10 m in size on the restriction light barrier, and it was absorbing the surrounding devilish chi and slowly healing. A layer of special restriction energy surged on it, causing the lake water to be unable to penetrate it. Below the hole was a courtyard that was about 1,000 feet in size. There were a few medicinal fields that were covered by restrictions. Behind them was a purple gold building. There seemed to be some kind of special spiritual material pasted on the walls that gathered the surrounding devil chi. In the hall of this building, Lu Kuan stood quietly in the middle. At this moment, he had transformed into a bald man with a repulsive face. He was staring at the murals on the wall, lost in thought. Not far behind him, a white-haired old man stood respectfully. His face was pale, and his aura was erratic. Fear flashed through his eyes as he looked at Lu Kuan. If other demonic cultivators were to see this scene, they would be incomparably shocked. A violent demonic cultivator like old Devil Xing Yun actually had such an obedient side to him. Lu Kuan looked at a monster with long and narrow-boned spurs and fangs on the wall. He clicked his tongue and said, "I didn't expect that a loose cultivator of the devil path like you would have such great knowledge. You drew the devil race so vividly. The one fighting with the immortal cultivators should be a Devil King level expert." Old Devil Xingyan looked at the murals on the wall and sighed. This junior once saw several seniors fighting with a demonic creature with thick bone spurs from afar. Just the aftermath of the battle nearly killed this junior. Thinking about it, that monster could only be a legendary Devil King. Lu Kuan was shocked. You saw it with your own eyes? Could it be that there are still Devil Kings left in this world? Old Devil Xing Yun hesitated and said, "The devil race has indeed gone extinct. However, after the broken country opened, the spatial cracks in the ancient battlefield would loosen. Occasionally, the devil race would cross over. In the past, the devil race would at most be at the nascent soul level. 500 years ago, for some reason, a Devil King level existence appeared. I heard that it was killed by several divine transformation seniors working together." Hearing this, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed. Interesting. I wonder if a Devil King will appear when the secret realm opens in 100 years. If I have the chance to fight with it, I might be able to gain a lot. If it was anyone else who said this, old Devil Xingyun would definitely scoff. Not only did the devil race have strong physical bodies, their spells and abilities were the source of all kinds of demonic secret arts. Their combat strength was terrifying. Even divine transformation experts would have to work together to defeat them. However, when he looked at the bald man in front of him, he couldn't help but gulp. He couldn't refute the words of this unfamiliar expert. This person didn't put up any defense. His body was attacked by old Devil Xing Yun's natal magic treasure and all kinds of spells. His skin was only scratched a little, and it quickly recovered. However, this person's casual punch didn't contain any energy. With pure strength, he easily broke through old Devil Xing Yun's protective spiritual light. Such a terrifying physical body was simply beyond his understanding. Old Devil Xing Yun carefully looked at his shoulder. There was a small bloody hole there, and a light silver fingernail was embedded in it. Not only did it emit a shocking power of chi and blood, but he also felt a trace of one mixed with a demonic aura. This aura was similar to the true demon that he had once felt. When his divine sense touched it, he felt a tremor. If the will inside were to explode, his soul would probably be severely injured in an instant. This kind of divine transformation level wasn't something a nascent soul cultivator could resist. With such a terrifying physical body, boundless power of chi and blood, and methods that contained the will, old Devil Xing Yun suspected that this bald man was actually a divine transformation level demon king. Old Devil Xing Yun was a little nervous. He didn't know why such an expert had barged into his cave and didn't kill him. Could it be that this person wanted to enslave him by force, and that the Demon King wanted to take a cultivator as a pet? Lu Kuan turned around and looked at old Devil Xing Yun, who was letting his imagination run wild. He revealed a harmless smile and said, "I don't have any other intentions. I was just passing by and saw that the demonic qi here is quite pure. I would like to borrow your cave to cultivate for a few days." Old Devil Xing Yun was slightly taken aback. Then he nodded and said, "No problem. Senior Zhang can cultivate for as long as you want. If you don't mind, please come to my cultivation room." Lu Kuan took 2 steps forward and placed a hand on old Devil Xing Yun's shoulder. He said kindly, No, I think this hall is quite good. There are demonic essence stones all around, and the mana gathering array is quite exquisite." Although he didn't use any strength, an invisible force spread out. Old Devil Xing Yun immediately felt the air around him tighten. All the hair on his body stood on end, and he felt suffocated. Old Devil Xing Yun let out a hollow laugh and said, "No problem. I will go to the cultivation room for now. I won't disturb Senior's cultivation." Lu Kuan lightly nodded and took his hand away. A silver light flashed beside him, and a dense energy spread out. A ferocious-looking monster with a gray face and fangs, covered in silver scales and with bone spikes on its joints, appeared beside him. Level 9, Silver-Armored Corpse. Old Devil Xing Yun's pupils contracted. Lu Kuan said indifferently, "This is my companion. Why don't you drink some tea with her in the courtyard? When I am done with my cultivation, I will leave. I will also remove the wheel on your shoulder." Hearing Lu Kuan's words, old Devil Xing Yun let out a sigh of relief. "Yes, Senior." Then he bent his waist and took 2 steps back. He left the hall with Serene, who was emitting a dense corpse aura, and went to the courtyard outside. At this moment, the hole in the restriction above had been completely repaired. Old Devil Xing Yun looked at the sharp claw of the silver-armored corpse on his shoulder. For some reason, he felt a chill on his neck. He squeezed out a smile and said, "How should I address you, fellow Taoist silver-armored corpse?" Serene glanced at him and didn't say anything. Instead, the claw on his shoulder tightened. Old Devil Xing Yun revealed an awkward expression and said, "There's a pavilion over there. I will make some good tea and serve you." Seeing that Serene didn't say anything, old Devil Xing Yun tried to walk forward. When he found that the claw on his shoulder didn't increase its strength, he calmed down and slowly walked into the pavilion and sat down. There was a tea set on the stone table. He skillfully took out the tea leaves, cast a fire spell, and boiled 2 cups of tea. After exchanging a few pleasantries and discovering that the silver-armored corpse was indifferent, he drank the tea in 1 gulp. Old Demon Nebula looked at the closed hall. He did not think about running away. Instead, he focused his attention on the silver fingernail in the flesh of his shoulder. Ignoring the qi and blood power and will inside, just the material of the fingernail alone was probably similar to a matured artifact. After observing for a while, old Devil Xing Yun's expression became a little strange. This seemed to be a human's claw. What kind of demon is his true form? He didn't reveal any demon spirit energy during the battle. Could it be that all demon kings are like this? Just their physical bodies alone are so terrifying? Just as his thoughts were running wild, the surrounding demonic aura became restless and surged towards the hall. There were even black halos that surged out from the demonic aura, turning into little balls of light that floated towards the hall. A terrifying aura soared into the sky in the hall. The strange aura that made him shudder before became even more turbulent, as if a primordial beast was pouncing towards him. Old Devil Xing Yun looked at this scene and was stunned at first. Then he thought of something and cried out, "Demonic vitality manifesting." The teacup in his hand fell to the ground. He was extremely excited. Ordinary great cultivators could only absorb some vitality when they used spells and abilities. Only immortal transformation cultivators could create such a scene of so much demonic vitality manifesting. If he could comprehend this demonic vitality, it might be of great help to him in breaking through his bottleneck. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.